just to intro this, I just want to know how you guys like the end of the book.
Crazy.
How do you like it? And then how did this rank compared to the other books?
I think I keep liking them more and more. Like I feel like
I think so too.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
So-
there was.
Would you say 4, 3, 2, 1 is your favorite? You like your order?
Yeah.
4, 3, 1, 2 for me.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, because I'm learning, we're just getting more and more of the story, like the background story. And that's what I've been enjoying.
Yeah.
And then trying to have theories of why. So that's why I've been like this.
I cannot believe how close you were with that theory.
It was
Very
a team
close.
effort. We had the wrong crouch, but we were.
Yeah, I know.
We're pretty spot on.
And the polyjuice potion, I'm like, nope, it's not that. I mean,
The real
we were off a little
curveball
bit,
is
but-
that they have the same name.
I know.
Because that's the only reason. You know what I
Yep.
mean? All of our thinking about the polyjuice was because of the Marauders map, seeing Barty Crouch on the map. The map should distinguish juniors.
Yeah.
But hey, if that's his magical legal name, that's how it goes. Threw us off.
When I was like,
Very clever.
I know, and I was like cheering. I was like, yes, we got it right. I knew it. But then I was like, oh, but it's a sun, so it's not exactly.
Yeah.
right.
Oof.
But even we were really close, even with the exchange when they did. You guys asked like Mad Eye Moody, when would the shift
Yeah,
been? And
yeah.
we got it wrong, but we were also right because we're like, oh, it's when they were that whole debacle where
Yeah.
With the
someone
bins and-
yeah, trying
We
to
mentioned
prevent him
it, but
from
I never
coming.
really thought it was, again, because
Yeah.
we were thrown off with Crouch, because we're like, oh, we saw Crouch and him in the same room a couple times. But
Yep.
we didn't see
But who
the
would have ever
sun.
thought the sun would have gotten out of jail?
Exactly,
Fast?
yeah.
So like that was never gonna.
Goodness.
But we were close enough.
Because it was such
Yeah.
a brief thing mentioned in the book, and Sirius firmed it up.
He firmed it up.
That's
We
what I
even
was
said
saying.
that. We're like, we know he's dead
Yeah.
because Sirius literally watched him get buried.
Right.
What the?
Isn't that crazy?
Nothing is sure anymore.
That's why, like, this polyjuice potion idea, you nailed it. But the polyjuice potion was even beyond that. Like, there was
Yes.
2-3 layers of polyjuice potion.
Three
with that.
polyjuice potion things. So my thought at the moment is, I don't know if you've ever seen Mission Impossible 2,
Yeah.
but at a point, they're just people whipping
Oh,
off
yeah,
masks
the
for like
masks.
20
I
minutes.
know.
Nobody is anybody. You're just like, nothing makes sense
True,
anymore.
yeah.
I'm thinking at the beginning of the next book, it would be comforting to me if somebody invented a polyjuice discovery
Detector.
mechanism. Yeah, like a detector of some kind, because at this point, she's opened up a can of worms with polyjuice and with time travel. She never shut the door on time travel, but she kind of needs to do that with polyjuice, or
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to trust anybody for the rest of the books.
Well, you can't trust anybody in any of them.
We can't anyway. You're
That's
right.
true.
But I'm just like, oh no.
One of the
because
funniest things to me, though, was one of the first things you said was, we definitely trust Moody. He's the only person we do trust.
Yeah.
And
He's
in the back
great.
of my head, I'm going, oh my gosh. We haven't really known who Moody is the entire book.
yes, we literally don't know him at all. So all the
that
nice
was
things
funny,
we
though.
thought were Moody, like with Neville, with Harry,
Yep.
it wasn't. And that's the part I still don't fully understand. Why was he being so nice? And maybe we'll get to it and talk
Well,
a little
also
more.
we
But
were saying though, like I feel like in the beginning he probably was more like Moody, and then because Dumbledore was saying he was lacking and taking the polyjuice potion as like frequent
right,
because he was getting
right.
excited towards the end of it, then
Yep.
I was like, oh, now he's slipping up on like certain things because I feel like maybe in the beginning he was acting like him.
Yeah, I guess he would have to
More.
if he's going to be around people who know him and none of them realized he wasn't Moody. He would have to really be playing a good, convincing Moody. So can we feel like we know Moody a little bit? Or, well, not really,
No, but Dumbledore knew right away, which was interesting.
but only at the very
Yeah.
end. He must have been
Well, that's
suspicious
true.
already. Or maybe that
I
was
don't
truly
know.
that out of character for Moody. But to me, when I read that part, that Dumbledore knew the second he took Harry out of his sight, because Moody would never do that, I was like, is it that obvious? Like after a moment like that, you don't take Harry away. Like, it did feel suspicious, but for Dumbledore to immediately know, I was like, oh.
I thought, though, that was the whole thing. They were saying, like, the ancient magic where, like, Dumbledore had a spell on Harry that anytime he was, like, in his presence or whatever, he was untouchable by Voldemort. So in my mind, I was thinking, Moody would never take him away from Dumbledore because he knows that he's the safest. And the
right.
proximity.
So Moody would never remove Harry from that.
That's what I thought.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And this shows us there are certain things that can get out of Dumbledore's grasp. He doesn't have a perfect grasp on everything that's going on.
I don't like
that. Yeah, I don't like that either. That like hurts. But that he was duped by this guy for almost the entire year. The only time that he really knew it wasn't the true Moody was when he took Harry away. And he said the true Moody would never do that. Maybe he was raising suspicion the whole time, and that was a confirmation, But
I also feel like they were saying he was going crazy because he was getting very like suspicious about everything because of the Death Eaters, and like he always was watching his back kind of thing and getting a little more crazy. So maybe Dumbledore was like, oh, he's a little off on his character because of this.
Yeah.
Right.
In the school system. But when he did that was like, okay, no, this isn't him.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But then it was crazy because Mad-Eye Moody then says something about his trunk. Remember in like the previous chapters?
We
like
literally said. That's where he keeps his victims.
There were so many moments.
Oh my gosh. I was like listening sometimes to the
quietly.
podcast and I'm like, we were literally talking about everything that was going to happen. And we were just like casually like, you even said like Rita Skeeter is Animagus and she's not
unregistered. Yes. I re-listened to that and I was like, it was right there.
Guys,
I'm like, yeah, but I don't think it really
If I ever
is.
needed practice to school my face, the past few episodes were it. I was
That
like,
is
oh my
so
God.
great.
The Mad-Eye Moody Polyjuice though, that was a great reaction.
Because you guys truly need to rewatch or re-listen to the podcast because there are things that me and Kristen snuck in just as like jokes and just going along with your theories. Like there was one, I think in one of the more recent ones where we were talking about her being an animagus and we just made like a quick joke about like, oh, she's sending flies up to the thing.
Yes.
And all of us just made like me and
Fly on the wall,
we
whatever.
just made a quick joke about that.
Yep.
We're like, you guys, I think you hit almost every single point in this book, the prediction of it, except a few small things, which were big things ultimately that you nailed, but you like joked around about, or you just didn't quite grasp, or like even
we
the
didn't
trunk
know
thing.
for sure.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like throwing it out there as well.
Yeah, because you don't really know.
And we do
And
come
then
up with so many theories that some of them are far off. Well, it's not like we're like, this is the thing. Although we were pretty sure about the polyjuice thing.
I know. Yeah, that's true.
But
we're like, it has to be. Why would that come up again?
You guys nailed the apologies thing. When you started saying that, I remember I had to go, hold on. So you're telling me
Yep.
that
And then
Moody.
I'm like, second guessing. I'm like, this is such a crazy theory.
It's too out there. But then after the curveball of it being his son, I was like, then I felt silly. I'm like, maybe she wanted us to think that the whole time. She wanted us to think we're on the right track with Polyjuice. Like she was like dangling the carrot just close enough. And we're like, yeah, we got this. Then all of a sudden, curveball out of
But then
nowhere.
I was so curious, like, what did you guys think who it was? You remember? Like who this person was?
I had no idea. I definitely, when I read this through the first time, I did not.
Did other people
any
that
idea.
are on like our chat, did they have other theories? I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm actually, if you guys are listening, what theories did you have when you first read this? I don't really remember when I first read this a little. Like, I think I was always just highly suspicious of Snape.
Yeah.
So he was
Yeah.
he was suspect number one in my head for all this kind of stuff, and that was just a complete curveball to me. That's why I don't remember a lot of my first time reading experience. Which is why I wanted to start this podcast.
Right.
Literally. Now you guys are gonna have it memorialized forever.
Wow.
Oh yes. It's fun.
There are a lot of theories. Like there's especially at the end of this book, theories run rampant at the end of this book. There's one thing in particular that I want to talk about with you guys.
Okay. I have a theory too.
That no one knew what the heck this was for, but people, I still remember, this is one of the things, I think I mentioned this in one of the first few podcasts. This is one of those things that people talked about in forums for years, trying to decipher what this was. Toodle says top suspect was Crockbot.
Yeah.
She literally says Crockbot too.
That's great.
Yeah.
They were top. Yeah.
And she said that
So true.
it helped in this whole thing. Like it helped the whole deception that Moody's feelings toward Death Eaters was the same as Crouch's. So he was able to disguise his feelings of hating Death Eaters, of being mad that they all got off.
Oh.
It was the same as Barty Crouch Jr.'s.
Wow.
Which then made me think that the wife and his mom was bad, probably.
Had to be.
Because, she was like, let's get you out. I'll
So
trade
fishy.
places.
Yeah. Is
And
she
then
really dead in the ground?
Crouch. Well, now who knows? But then, like, the real Crouch, I'm like, how did you have this under your nose the whole time? I don't know.
I know. Isn't that crazy how corrupt that was?
It was so messed up. And now I'm like, oh, now it makes sense why he was looking for Dumbledore. He's like, I messed up or I have something I have to tell him or whatever. I'm like, no wonder.
It's so funny
Keeping
with the
it.
mom. I took it as totally different. I didn't suspect her like being bad. I thought she was like a blind
Yeah.
overlove for her son. Like
Yeah.
no matter what he did, I thought she would just do anything to get him out.
That's kind of what I
even if
took
he
too.
was
Even the
gonna be
trial, that's
bad.
kind of what you saw.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
I
when you
don't
mentioned that,
know.
I was like, oh, I didn't even think she could be bad.
I thought so. I mean, I get what you guys are saying, but she went to such lengths to me. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. There's so.
And then like Winky's like really dark secret. What were we saying? I don't even remember. It was
Well,
something-
John teased that one too. Because when Winky was in the forest, he's like, what if there was an invisibility cloak and dragging something?
literally-
Well, I guess
Literally
you
said
did
that.
say that.
And I was like, that'd be ridiculous, John.
Because in her writing, she spoils it in her writing. She goes
Crazy.
as if she was dragging an invisible body, or as if she was like being halted by someone invisible or something like that. So I'm like,
Oh,
do you think that maybe she could be like having something be under an
Crazy.
invisibility cloak?
Yep.
You know?
I forgot about that because she was like pulling. It was as if she was pulling someone back, Winky, or
Yeah, like
it was as
dragging
if
somebody.
Someone was dragging Winky. What would
Like
which
she was
way
being
it?
held back. I think it says she was like walking, like someone was kind of like holding her back from actually being able to walk. Something like that.
Yeah.
And that's why the writing is really clever, because she does a good job at putting things right out there
Yeah.
so that you don't think of it, because why would she say it so outright if it was? Or it's a discussion between Harry, Ron, and Hermione talking about the options, and she'll just put it right out there.
Yeah.
And then even the one that's closest to the truth is off ever so slightly, so you're never really sure what's going on.
Yep.
But it's just so cleverly done. I was like, oh, it's great.
She's a master of her craft.
Yep.
That's why it's such good storytelling.
Yeah.
So good.
Hold on. I found, sorry. I don't know what
Yeah.
you guys were just talking about, but I was finding the Winky part. She was moving in a most peculiar fashion, apparently with great difficulty. It was as though someone invisible were trying to hold her back.
Oh my
So
gosh.
great. And we talked about invisibility cloaks and whether
Yeah.
there could be others and all that. So that also is funny. I'd have to go back and listen to that. But yep, there are others.
You also made the note of whoever stands up first at the table. You had a prediction that one of the champions is going to die.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it might have been Cedric that stood up first at that
I
table.
guess in my mind, that confirms that he stood up first.
Yeah.
So maybe he was the most gentlemanly. He stood up first
He would
to
like that.
initiate
I was
the
gonna say that.
dancing,
Yeah,
to help
fitting.
his lady up. Like, I'm picturing the whole thing.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh,
All right, we're going to talk about this
So
all
many
at length. It's going to be great. But welcome to the podcast. I'm John,
Jen.
Danny.
And Kristen.
and this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. So the best part about this whole podcast journey is that we're not even halfway through the books. And this is really the best thing of all time, because this podcast is going to keep on going for a while. Unfortunately, the trio of Jenn, Kristen, and Danny thought they were going to have finished the books already. But unfortunately, I stepped in and they have not finished the books because we're doing this podcast with it. But it's making it more fun. Any flack that I get, I feel like we're doing a community reading experience, and Jen, Danny, and Kristen really, really, truly love it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just putting up with me. But I feel like a community reading experience is always better. But anyway, follow us on all social media. Give us some ratings and reviews. I am going to post another episode that is just Jen and Danny's reactions, their live reactions to reading, because they sent me a bunch of voice memos. So that's very entertaining. But thank you so much for listening. Our fans are the best. Go check out our subreddits. Go check out our live streams whenever we live stream the podcast, because then you can really contribute to the podcast and make it even better. But thank you so much for listening. We're so appreciative of you guys, and have a Merry Christmas, because Christmas is coming up soon. you might listen to this a few months after. So Merry Christmas whenever you're going to listen to this podcast. But thanks again for listening. This is where I was like unbelievably excited to get to this point.
Yep.
Where we can just talk about this.
Yep.
It's so crazy.
It was so fun reading these chapters.
Yeah. Let's go over these chapters. Chapter 35 is Veritaserum. What happens in this chapter? A brief summary, if you can.
I don't know. Just
Moody
play
takes Harry to his office and monologues. He was going to kill Harry for Voldemort. Dumbledore kind of saves him. And then Dumbledore interrogates Moody, who we find out is Barty Crouch Jr. And Dumbledore is using a truth serum. So we kind of know we're getting the real truth from him.
Oh. It does start off on a really devastating note where Harry let go of the cup, but he clutched Cedric to him even more tightly. He raised his free hand and seized Dumbledore's wrist while Dumbledore's face swam in and out of focus. He's back, Harry whispered. He's back, Voldemort. What was that?
Sorry, I'm just adjusting my mic because it was blocking my view.
I heard it on here. That's weird. So sad. This is Cedric is confirmed as dead.
His body.
Yeah.
That feels like a cool loyalty to me, though. I like that. It was like Harry just like couldn't let him go yet. It felt loyal. It felt good.
So I was thinking about you when you said that you didn't like that Cedric asked him to take his. Sorry, was this one of your points?
No, go ahead.
That you didn't like that.
Right.
I was
right.
I'm like, I won't say something now, but I feel like I was going back and forth in my head, like. It's almost as if he knew that Harry wouldn't have forgiven himself if he didn't take the body back. So I was wondering, I'm like, okay, so those, because what did it say? They were like a shadow or something that came out of the wand?
Out of the wand, right.
So it's like, is it actually personifying them or is it personifying Harry's thoughts? So like through Cedric.
Great question.
It's like,
Wow.
Cedric is speaking because he, like in accordance to Cedric, Harry knows that his future self would never forgive himself for not bringing the body back.
Yeah.
So Cedric said that to him. Like
Right.
I was just
Wow.
wondering about that.
right.
And
Like-
even for the sake of processing, like Harry hasn't necessarily fully processed the
Right.
death of Cedric right now. I don't think you
Yeah.
even really get that till even in the rest of this book. I don't think he's fully processed through some of that stuff. He probably will in the summer.
Yeah.
And it gives closure to Cedric's parents. And it like it also, I think, helps establish Harry's innocence in this. Because if he just comes back and Cedric is gone, there'd be no closure. Nobody would know what's going on. But Cedric's body almost became like the proof too. So yeah, it made more sense once I was watching that happen at the beginning of this chapter. I'm like, yeah, it feels like that was the right move.
Right. Of course, in the midst of like,
Yeah,
is
if
Harry
it ended
even
up
gonna
costing
make
Harry
it?
his life,
Right,
then it wouldn't,
right.
but
Then it's like, no, just, get out of there.
Yep. Survival
But
first.
in the aftermath,
Yeah.
it was definitely the right move.
Yep.
Like,
It does give him closure. I think it honors Cedric too. I think Harry in this moment acts more like a Hufflepuff, which I think is really honorable to Cedric because I feel like any Hufflepuff would sacrifice themselves. It's like more than bravery, it's loyalty.
Right.
You sacrifice yourself for the needs of another to a point where even if he might die from the killing curse, you're still going to get this guy's body back no matter what. I really like that. There's a different note in this too. Maybe this is a more meta question because sometimes I understand this, sometimes I don't. But Fudge wanted to tell Amos that his son had died before Amos got to his son. Why do you think that was necessary? And why do you think that's just necessary in like real life? Like, I feel like I probably would have acted the same way. This is a super meta question. So
Yeah, that is oof.
even the fact of sitting with someone and grieving with them, like Professor Sprout was the one that kind of sat with Amos and his wife and just like walked them through it. Why do we do that?
I feel like you want to believe it's not true too, right? So seeing you might like, if you were to just see it, maybe you think your mind's playing tricks on you or it lessens the blow hearing it. So it's like all the different senses, like you're hearing it, you're seeing it, and you can like fully take it in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a great point, because being that close to someone, you almost deny that it's going to happen.
Like, no, it's not real. They're sleeping, or like
Yeah.
he'll come back, or. So, but if someone's like kind of saying, no, he's actually dead, we're so sorry, that you're like getting another sense. So they can go numb.
I was gonna say your body goes into shock,
And
your
that,
mind and everything. Just like
yeah, like that, it feels like that's a protective mechanism. Makes sense. But that like is what Dumbledore says in the next chapter. Because one of the quotes that I love from this one, numbing the pain for a while will make it worse when you finally feel it. So I feel like Dumbledore being aware of that is trying to set it up so that Harry, in that case, when he quotes it, is he's talking about Harry, but in all cases, trying to prevent people from just numbing the pain, knowing that facing it and dealing with it is really painful. It's hard, but it's better long term.
yeah.
That is just such a devastating thing. Imagine like watching your son compete in this tournament, not thinking any harm is going to come of him, and then he
Yep.
pops out and he's dead. The last time you saw your son was when he walks into this maze and he comes out and he's dead. That's devastating. Oh my gosh. But then we get other lines like, I want to know what you guys were thinking of when Moody was saying this kind of stuff. Karkaroff's gone. He ran away. But then he didn't put my name in the goblet? No, said Moody slowly. No, he didn't. It was I who did that. Harry heard but didn't believe. No, you didn't, he said. You didn't do that. You can't have done that. You guys sent me voice memos, and I'm probably going to play all of them at the beginning because they're so entertaining of you guys processing through this and reading it. But what did you think was happening in this moment? Like, who did you think? Do you think Moody was truly Moody?
No, I think it was like solidifying. I'm like, I think my theory's right then.
Yeah.
I think that's what I sent to
Yeah.
you too in my voice memo. I don't know. I guess my thought process now might be different than when I was actually in it. But the best is I was cheering. I was like, I knew it. I told you Crockpot was the one that ran away. Snape was the one that stayed. And Crouch,
Yeah.
in a way, was the one, the most devoted servant.
Yep.
But I think I got confused with Crumb. And
You're pretty darn close about
And
all
wait,
of
who
them.
were, so the three, it's the coward,
was
the one who
Crockpot.
left, and the most faithful. These are the three we have to account for.
Yeah.
The coward and the one who
And
left.
you said you couldn't
But that's just-
pin any of them yet.
Yeah, and now we have more information, but
But I guessed it first, so.
is Karkaroff the coward or the one who left?
The coward. The
So
one
who
who
left?
left him forever is Snape, I think, because he's not going back.
Gotcha.
Snape is with Dumbledore now.
Okay.
Time out. I do want to throw in one little note. Wes is being a little annoying right here. Do you possibly think that Voldemort might not have known that Crouch was doing all this for him, and Snape could be still the most devoted servant? And then Voldemort thought that Crouch had gone away from him, but he was really going to Hogwarts to do all this kind of stuff for him. And he
not
orchestrated all this. No?
I don't think so anymore, only because it was Bertha Jorkins that they said he got information from her. And so why would she bring up Snape? I guess to me it was more of a like, she saw Barty Crouch Jr., wasn't supposed to. Voldemort was able to unleash this charm to then reveal this information, and then, oh, he's going to be at Hogwarts. How would he be?
Wait, didn't Voldemort
Hogwarts,
go find Barty Crouch Jr.? I'm trying to think what happened, where that happened, where he
Yeah.
knew he went to the Crouch house.
Yep.
And went through that whole process before this book started, or at the very beginning of this book. So he knew Crouch Jr. was around, but did he send him on the mission? I forget how that all.
But there could still be, yeah. If he sent him on the mission, then maybe he is the most devoted servant of the Lord, Dark Lord. But maybe he sent them on some kind of mission, and he like left him at that moment to do something else at Hogwarts, and maybe Voldemort thinks that this is the one who abandoned him.
I mean, I had that theory that Snape was it from the beginning, but I feel like I don't think it anymore.
Right. I've been thinking that too, but it only works then if Crouch Jr. is one of the other two.
Which one would he be, though?
He would be the one, maybe the coward, but I don't know why he'd be a coward, or he could be the one. that left forever if Voldemort doesn't think that he was
No.
loyal, but I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not saying like this is what it is, but that's just, I'm just thinking it through because I'm not sure. I'm not set on any of these.
You're still not set? I thought it was very obvious.
Wait, so who are you set on?
Kakarov is the coward. The one that left forever and will be killed is Snape. And then his most devoted servant was Crouch Jr.
Yeah, that's fair.
It seems like the most plain reading of the text, for
Right.
sure.
Yep. I'm just not
Okay,
willing to
John.
lock it in.
I'm confirming your theory. I'm not saying plain as in bad. I'm saying plain as in the most logical
Yeah.
reason of the text. Just trying to throw things out there
But with
for you guys.
JK,
I know,
I can't take any plain readings until it's sealed.
Moody does say this, which is a weird, terrifying line. Decent people are so easy to manipulate, Potter.
Ugh, I know.
I was sure Cedric would want to repay you for telling him about the dragons, and so he did. Terrible line.
I hate
Crazy.
that.
I know.
But he's right.
Yeah.
I also think in my mind, he's looking back at all of the things, coming up with reasons that he was in charge of it all. But I don't buy it. He couldn't have predicted all of this. I feel like in hindsight, he can like pretend he orchestrated all this stuff, but I don't think so. I think he knew that in the end he was going to have to help nudge Harry through, and he was willing to do all these curses and, you know, whatever to floor and try and knock out the other champions to get Harry through. But I'm just not convinced he was smart enough to actually do all of that manipulation and the thing with Cedric, but I don't think he needed to either. It just seemed, the only part that seems a little weird is the second task. It really feels like he didn't give Harry a lot of assistance. Well, he kind of did because he got Dobby to give him the gillyweed.
Yeah.
But even that's only like setting him up for success.
Yeah.
It doesn't guarantee it.
It was sloppy in some stuff.
Yeah.
If I was him, I would like literally put gillyweed in Harry's library book or something like that. So he opens it and, you know, rather than this backhanded way of giving Neville a book a few months before and hoping that he comes across it. I guess.
Yeah, that feels so vague.
Yeah.
But that's what's crazy to me too, is that he killed his parents and he's like, come with me. I want
Yeah.
to talk this out with you. Or
Yeah.
Gosh, that's right.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. It just like,
Neville
What did he
know?
say?
I know. That's why I'm
Oh.
like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that I was like, I wonder how that conversation went down. Because then wasn't Neville quiet after? Like he didn't want to talk to anyone.
Yep.
So like, I wonder if he kind of felt something was off. I don't know.
Neville
do you
hero.
think he's trying to recruit people for evil?
Who?
Crouch Jr. as Moody, like sowing some seeds of doubt in people at Hogwarts, like Neville. In my mind, he's trying to get Neville to be a Death Eater.
How?
Looking back, like whatever that conversation with him about his parents or whatever, I feel like he was planting some seeds of doubt in Neville about Hogwarts or Dumbledore or good or anything, just to try and like win people over to the dark side. Because it genuinely feels like Moody cared about some of these people. But I think that comes from a place of wanting them to be bad, obviously not wanting them to be good. And Neville is one of the prime suspects for being brought to the dark side if he feels comfortable with Moody / Crouch and he can have the right like false things implanted in his mind. I'm like, oof, could Neville go evil?
Could he though?
I don't know. I'd like to
his
think
parents
no,
were
but I just
torturing
think that's the only reason I can think of Crouch Jr. having like a real deep conversation about his parents. It just felt out of character looking back.
A part of me, like in some sick way, it's like you wanted to like see how he's doing
Yeah.
after I like tortured your parents.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder how you're surviving mentally, and did I get to you too?
He seems very sadistic in this whole thing. When you look
Yep.
back on the whole story and you reread it, the whole thing is icky. It's like disgusting some of the stuff that happened and that he did, and he just kept checking in on him and like,
Yeah.
ugh.
I feel like, I don't know if this is giving credence to him, which I'm not trying to do, but I almost felt like he was genuinely trying to build trust with everyone, especially Harry and everyone around Harry,
Yep.
say Neville, since he had the book. So if there was that trust, like in my mind, his end game was getting Harry to the end of the cup so
Yeah.
that he won. So I feel
Yep.
like him trying to like build that trust with everyone that was almost his way of helping get him there as well with all those little nudges.
Yeah,
that makes
and he
Yeah,
a
you're
lot
right.
Of, a lot of things that he does seem out of character, but they are kind of maniacal and building. They are for sure. I think for building trust. Even the idea of him like telling Harry, Ron, and Hermione, or Harry and Hermione that they could be good Death Eaters. Like,
right.
Yeah, you're right.
that just seems so strange, but he really is just trying to gain their trust there, I guess.
Or good auras, you mean?
Yeah, auras. Not,
Yeah.
not
Oh, yeah.
I do.
was like,
Sorry about
I thought
that.
it
Just to
was-
clarify, if anyone, yeah.
He's really maniacal right there. Very
So
obviously.
then we were
bad.
right too. Like, oh, you'd be the greatest, and he's like
Yeah.
in front of them, like
Taunting them.
totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
we were right.
Yeah, that's
You guys nailed it.
so weird.
That's cool.
But yeah, looking back, like I almost think of him. I'm thinking of like the Joker, because I don't know if that's sociopath or psychopath or whatever it would be, but like it almost feels like he's okay with the chaos of it, and the fact that he was able to make us all feel like almost hurt. We're so sorry for him, like
Yep.
in the trial, that we're like we feel so bad, and then I'm just like, wow, he really manipulated everybody, except his father, I guess. But it feels like, at least from my perspective, I felt really bad for him. I imagine a lot of other people did too.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to Hogwarts, I just can't tell if it was all a plan. Like when I'm watching Batman and the Joker's activities, you can't tell if it's a plan or if it's him just like creating chaos to see how everything happens. And I still don't know. I still don't know if he's like a genius planning every step or just a wild child.
Could be a little both.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, probably.
It's a dangerous mix.
You speak like
Well, he
from
killed
experience
his
on that or
dad.
something. You were not a wild child.
No.
Speaking from experience, is that what you just asked?
Yes. That's why I looked at him like that.
Definitely not. There's another few notes in this, but there's this line that I think is a really interesting line. At that moment, Harry fully understood for the first time why people said Dumbledore was the only wizard Voldemort had ever feared. The look upon Dumbledore's face as he stared down at the unconscious form of Mad-Eye Moody was more terrible than Harry could have imagined. There was no benign smile upon Dumbledore's face, no twinkle in the eyes behind the spectacles. There was cold fury in every line of the ancient face. A sense of power radiated from Dumbledore as though he were giving off burning heat. Is this cool or is this terrifying?
So
That was awesome. I love that part.
Great.
Because Dumbledore's so like soft, I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah, for sure.
Everything previous. And
Yeah.
then this was like, whoa.
True.
Yep. So
I have my
great.
Dumbledore. Well, we're not. When we get to the end, just remind me.
Okay. There is a quote. I'm going to butcher this, but someone said, I don't know if it was from a movie or what, but it's gentle people that you have to watch out for. Because if someone who's gentle loses their temper and they get crazy, that is really, you mess something up. Same thing with Dumbledore. We've never seen him even so much as yell. The first time he yelled that we noticed was in this book when he's telling Hagrid to stop choking Karkaroff. And then this is an instance where we're like the first time we really see him, and it's terrifying, but it's also pretty cool.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy's got some power. It's kind of fun.
I feel like that's why he can be so confident and comfortable and calm in all situations, because he knows he's familiar with what he's capable of. So that just gives him this confidence. So I love that we get to see that finally.
Does this change your view or opinion of him?
I think it confirms what I already thought. But it's still good to see he's still got it. You know?
He's still got it. It's not just an old man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and that's what they mentioned a lot in the last few chapters. So bring that up in the end.
Okay.
You know, it was weird when Crouch Jr. is doing his monologue a little bit. Oh, no, this is actually, monologue right before Dumbledore comes in. He was talking about how he'll be honored beyond all Death Eaters and dearest, his closest supporter, closer than a son. And that was when I first was like, okay, this is not the Crouch that I thought. What's going on here? And I'm confused a little by this line because it feels like there's more packed in there than they addressed. So then, of course, it gets in the next line and talks about they start seeing, Harry being named after those fathers, killing our fathers. As soon as it said that, I said Crouch's son, because that's when I realized what it was. And then realized that Barty Crouch Sr. had died in the forest and he had killed him. So it all started to click at that point. But then I was like, wait, does Voldemort want a son? Closer than a son? Is this Crouch talking about his own journey, or is this a Voldemort thing? Because Voldemort killed his own father, it seems. So then I was just like, this is weird. Does Voldemort have any kids? And I was like, could Harry be? And I started just thinking about fathers and sons, and then I'm like, Darth Vader. So just these things, I'm like,
Is Harry Voldemort's real son?
there's more in here that I'm like, ooh, we're gonna unpack this in books to come. But the father-son dynamic, I think, is
which part
interesting.
was this?
That's funny.
So on page 678, in the middle of the page, it basically, as the faux glass is starting to come into focus, Harry can, assuming he understands how this works, he's like, okay, help is coming, whatever. Then Moody is saying a few more things, Crouch Jr., and he's talking about how much glory he's going to get. He's going to get glory for killing Harry because Harry somehow escaped Voldemort. And then that's where he goes into this thing. He'll be so honored, closer than a son. And then I was like, then also could Voldemort actually have a son? That is one of his supporters, but Crouch wants to be closer, a better Death Eater than Voldemort's son. Yeah, the whole thing, weird.
Yeah. I have notes on that too that I picked up.
Yeah.
Because then, I was even, which is probably obvious, but the Crouch Jr., his dad was probably never around because it seemed like he was obsessed with his career. So he didn't have a father. And then he just wanted to be accepted by a father figure. So then I was like, oh, that's Voldemort, right? He wants to be accepted and then show off even more than a son would. I'm going to be the best son, that I'm going to be better than if you had a son.
Right.
Because
he's still
he just
seeking that
wanted-
approval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they both had worthless fathers. But they had the pleasure of killing their fathers, and they both had the name of their father. I wrote that down. That they were he said worthless fathers, and they had their name of their fathers. I don't know.
And we still don't know Voldemort's whole situation with his father, because it all still feels wrong. We're the story we're getting from Voldemort in that moment felt weird, felt off. With his mother, and then who was the witch and who's the bloodline? Is he a muggle, or it just feels weird. The whole thing. I'm like, we don't understand it yet.
Right.
Are there any unanswered questions that you have through his whole story, through his whole Veritaserum story?
I don't know about direct questions. Maybe if I had to sum it up in one thing, is Winky bad? I don't know. Can she be trusted? I don't know.
Oh, well, I also was finding it interesting, the flip-flop, right? Because then the son was able to break the curse of his dad, right? The Imperious... I forget what curses were
Yep,
on them.
Imperious curse,
It was
yeah.
the Imperious
Yeah.
curse, right?
Nailed it. You're becoming a nerd, Jen.
Oh, gosh.
She's not becoming. She's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I keep fighting it. That's why I keep saying.
Just accept it.
You're fighting the Imperious curse of being a nerd.
Is that what you're doing to us?
Sorry.
Why? Because you laughed.
Imperious us to do this podcast. We're all under his curse.
It is working excellently.
His wagwam, whatever.
Wagadoo.
Yeah.
Wagwan. Yeah. That's Native American stuff.
Yeah, it's a wigwam.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun on this podcast with you guys.
Oh,
The 2 weeks that we didn't do this, I was so bummed. I was like, I feel like something's missing in my life.
I want to keep
just
reading.
us.
You know.
And Harry Potter. And our theories. But you have all your Reddit fans.
I know. We were nerding out about stuff.
Oh, gosh.
It's great.
Instead of the recording, you're like, all right, we got hours.
Yeah.
Let's go.
One of my friends asked if Reddit was safe for spoilers, because she has never read.
Yeah.
And she was looking for a book companion thing. And I said, well, I've got a podcast for you.
Oh my gosh.
And then I mentioned the
Unbelievable.
subreddit, and then she's like, oh, I'll check that out. And then I was like, actually, wait.
It's
There's spoilers.
yeah, there's definitely some spoilers on
So
it.
if someone has already seen the movies and they're just reading, are the spoilers as extreme?
No. If someone's just seen the movies, I say go jump in on
Do the
on Reddit.
subreddit.
Yeah, subreddit.
Read
for
along
sure.
and yeah.
There
Okay,
is-
cool.
I just sent you guys that message of someone who they're the first time reader reading along with us,
Love that.
and
yeah.
I think they posted something on the subreddit about that. So I think they're just being careful about what they read, and like
Nice.
the titles of certain things, I try to keep spoiler free, but the bodies of it. So like if you're on it
yes.
and you're reading
Yeah.
it, and you read a title, some things are tough. Like I briefly mentioned something that we'll touch on in the beginning of the next book, and we had a little discussion about that and some like fans helped me figure out what was actually going on, and I briefly
nice.
mentioned that a few minutes ago that you guys won't understand until we actually get to the next book.
Oh, I
He
love
loves
it.
to
That's
throw
so
that
great.
in there. We'll get to it. You won't understand.
You won't get it
I'm just
until
so
the next
excited.
book.
I'm gonna
That's
chat away for
awesome.
hours about it, and then you'll find out one day.
Because when you guys read this stuff, you're gonna have so many. You're gonna be like, "Wait, why didn't this work?" So there's certain
Jen is
continuity
so
errors.
mad.
Oh,
I know.
yes.
She goes, I want to know, and he's just like teasing us. Like
I will.
yeah,
at the
one
beginning of the next
day,
book, I'll talk about
when you're
what, and
mature
you're gonna have the
enough,
same question.
You'll be able to understand.
We're gonna talk about this as we go on
Young-
too. It's so fun. It is so fun to me. Anyway,
Star Wars reference, but I can't remember the
A young Padawan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying.
you'll learn, young Padawans.
That's what I feel like you're doing.
Yeah, we're just fourth years.
Yeah.
We'll learn in our fifth
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
It's cool.
What did you think of Crouch's whole story, Crouch Juniors?
It was insane.
Yeah,
I just
crazy.
don't understand. Like, oh, let's flip flop bodies, get you out of here, polyjuice potion while we're in the cell and no one's watching, and the Dementors have no clue. Like the change, I don't know. I thought that was weird because can't they pick up on like they're saying that someone was he came in dying and then left dying.
Well, she was almost dying, right?
Yeah, but they
Wasn't she
picked up
sick?
on that, right? That's
Yeah.
what I found.
But was
weird.
Barty like?
Dying inside because he's taking his
Yeah.
son out? That's what I was like confused about.
No, I took it as was Barty the son like close to death from being in
From
Azkaban?
being in there.
It seemed like
that's
it.
not how I took it, but
I could be wrong.
Well, because then that would make it so that their, I don't know, from a Dementor perspective, their like life signatures would look similar.
Right.
His mother and him, if they're swapping places.
Did you
but it
think
still
the
felt
father
weird.
was almost close to death?
So I thought
So he would-
I thought it wasn't. It was like more of like an emotional. Like he was hating that he had to put his wife and he wouldn't see her like last days of
okay.
dying. So internally he's dying. Like I'm leaving my wife here. I'm taking my son, which I don't even really want to take out of here because I know that he committed this. I feel like he knew and he's taking him out because it's his wife's wish and he loved her so
Right.
much. So internally he's dying because he's like, I'm never going to see her again. I don't want my son out. He's not a good person and that. And then he was, I mean, because in my mind, the son is like, oh, I'm getting free. So like, I feel like life would be coming to him.
I also am thinking about if Dementors are thriving or feeding off of happiness and joyful memories, there was a lot of sadness happening in this place, in this specific cell amongst the three of them. So I'm wondering if that also played into why the Dementors were having trouble there. They're like, yeah, I'm looking to feed off the happy stuff. Not much that in this cell. Let's go torture someone else. Between the death and the betrayal and the sociopath in there and whatever else, I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense. So I'm just kind of accepting it. But it's weird.
And then I'm like, is the mom like that? Was she the most devoted servant?
She seems
It's
nuts.
like she probably knew, and she's like, I want him out. And
What?
like, ugh.
Crouch is a weird character after you know all this kind of stuff. The father. What was he thinking by allowing this to happen? Did he really love his wife and is granting her dying request?
I don't buy it.
Like, what is his motive for letting this
Maybe
happen?
he was under a curse too from the wife.
Maybe the wife is really the most devoted servant.
And then all of a sudden he was lifted from him. He's like, what did I do? And he has his son, and he has to keep a spell on him forever.
Yikes.
It just seemed crazy because he was so. I'm like, how did you get into this? You seemed so like the opposite.
Yeah.
Career driven, wanting evil to be away in jail, killed, whatever. And here he is covering for like family members that are evil.
And the trial almost seems like a lie to some extent. I don't know if Dumbledore's memory. Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This guy, I'm like crying over like how I felt so bad for the son. I'm like, this is terrible. What kind of father? And then I'm like, I hate you. You made me upset and sad over this, and you actually did it.
Because he seems so genuine in the trial.
Yeah.
I'm like, is Dumbledore's memory wrong of this?
Can they be wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you put a memory in a pensive and it be actually wrong?
Yes.
But is it your take on that?
Yeah.
Right?
I think it has to be your take on it for
Yeah.
sure. But is Dumbledore? How the heck can Dumbledore be wrong about this? Unless he's choosing from someone else's memory, unless that wasn't his specific, unless it was like he was reviewing, maybe Crouch's memory about this, or Moody's memory about this.
Well, that would be
like
even crazier. What if it was Moody's memory?
Yeah.
Hey, Moody, come up here. I need to pick your brain.
Seriously?
He's
Wow.
accidentally picking Crouch Jr.'s brain, not even realizing it. So he's getting Crouch Jr.'s slanted perspective on the trial.
Whoa.
How nuts would that be?
That would be crazy.
Wait, he was in there, wasn't he?
I'm going on Reddit right now.
See? Well, we haven't seen this
Or was
yet.
it Snape?
In my head, the pensieve is one person's memory. But like John said, like it could be multiple people.
But can you hold? Like,
Yeah.
Remember when Dumbledore left with someone and said, "Harry, stay here," and then Harry goes into the pensive.
Yes.
Who was with him?
He was with Snape and
With Snape?
yeah,
Well,
I
like,
think
who
so.
did he leave with? That's what I was wondering.
Who did
'Cause then-
Dumbledore leave with?
Dumbledore
Yeah.
I think,
yeah.
left with Snape.
Yeah. So
and
physically in the room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was it? Was it Moody?
I think it
No.
was, the Minister of Magic.
Crouch or Fudge.
Fudge.
And
yeah,
I think
you're right.
I think Moody was there too.
Maybe he was.
feel
If
like
Moody
Moody
was
was
there,
there,
that
but-
would make sense.
Because
But
then I was wondering if we could.
but how did he get down to the?
I don't know.
Because this was when Crumb was being taken. When Crumb got, or when Harry ran up because
Yes,
he had to get
'cause
that. So
Crumb
Oh,
and
yeah.
Crouch were out in the forest, and Harry ran up and couldn't remember the password. Then the door opens. He goes up. He listens. Moody was there because Moody saw him through the door.
yeah, yep. And Dumbledore's
So,
password was password 1, 2, 3.
Dumbledore, yeah, Dumbledore, Snape, Moody, maybe Fudge. I don't
Fudge
remember.
was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine all of those memories were pulled together at the same time. We don't know if Snape was at the trial, but if Dumbledore's trying to put things together and he's combining memories, but Moody is in there, it's actually Crouch Jr. throwing in like twisted memories.
Maybe.
That is a fantastic theory.
But then I was also thinking, like, Dumbledore always gives the benefit of the doubt, I feel like, because he always gives second chances. I feel like he cares about kids because he was young, wasn't he? Like a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like he could see them in that light. Like, he's
Right.
trying to give the benefit of the doubt to, like, a kid, second chance. Like, I don't know. He
Yeah.
always-
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking
That-
before,
yeah.
like from his perspective.
Kind of like that.
But that would be crazy if it's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trial is just strange though, because she
Yeah.
messes with you so much because you have so much sympathy for
Yeah.
Crouch's son at that point, and then she rips that away from you at the end, and you hate him.
I was so annoyed.
Do you guys have anything else in this chapter specifically?
It's still crazy. Like, I just don't get.
Yep. The whole thing.
And Winky, like, covering for everything, too.
And the memory charms that can be broken.
Yeah.
So Bertha was under a memory charm, but the torture broke
Yeah.
the memory charm. So we're understanding a little more about how memory is working.
And Bertha saw that he was out of Azkaban, Crouch
Yeah.
Jr., and then do the memory charm, like you were saying.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
Because she's such a gossiper.
And it sounds like the memory charm, it locks up your memory, but if you want to remove it, it's like I don't know, like surgery on your brain surgery or whatever. Because like if you make one mistake, the whole brain could be addled and messed up.
Which is what happened.
Yeah,
with
which is what happened
Voldemort,
with Bertha, yeah.
to birthday. Yeah.
And I'm sure Voldemort didn't take a ton of care
No.
with her.
Yeah. That was such a crazy.
The next chapter is so good too. I love the leadership of Dumbledore, the parting of the ways. Unless you guys had anything else in this one chapter, we'll probably talk about some of the stuff that we hit on in this chapter. But parting of the ways. Anybody have a summary for that one?
This one I do.
Nice.
This is the only one I have. So, Harry is debriefed by Dumbledore in his office. Sirius had been there waiting, so he's in on that too. Harry is then brought to the hospital wing where the Weasleys are waiting for him. Fudge caused the Dementor to kiss Barty Crouch. Fudge is at odds now with Dumbledore since he doesn't believe that Voldemort is back.
That was a chilling conversation in the end.
Yep.
Oh, I can't wait to get to that. But one of the first things, and Danny mentioned this line before, if I thought I could help you, Dumbledore said gently, by putting you in an enchanted sleep and allowing you to postpone the moment when you have to think about what happened last night or what happened tonight, I would do it. But I know better. Numbing the pain for a while will make it worse when you finally feel it. You have shown bravery beyond anything I could have expected of you. I ask you to demonstrate your courage one more time. I ask you to tell us what happened. Is Dumbledore right in making Harry tell at this moment? Or is Sirius right for letting Harry sleep and then tell later?
No, I think you tell now.
I mean, if they want all of the accurate information, I think now he had to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's tough. I went back and forth a million times. If they didn't need fully accurate, detailed information, maybe wait a little bit.
Yep.
But I think it was crucial that they did it then.
Time is of the essence.
And it's the person who's asking too. Dumbledore, you can trust. At least we think.
Well, right.
Like Dumbledore is asking this and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I can do it. If Snape was like, I need to know now, you're like, shut up. I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. This is a line that people debated for years. He said my blood would make him stronger than if he'd used someone else's, Harry told Dumbledore. He said the protection my mother left in me, he'd have it too. And he was right. He could touch me without hurting himself. He touched my face. For a fleeting instant, Harry thought he saw a gleam of something like triumph in Dumbledore's eyes. But next second, Harry was sure he had imagined it. For when Dumbledore had returned to his seat behind his desk, he looked as old and weary as Harry had ever seen him. What is this gleam of triumph?
In my margin, I wrote, Dumbledore knows that a plan for good has been set in motion that Voldemort doesn't even know about. In my mind, I'm trusting this bit of writing, the fleeting moment of triumph. I don't think Voldemort understands how this works. He didn't understand it when he first attacked Harry. At least we're led to believe he didn't understand it. It sure seems like he didn't. Harry's mother died for him, etc. Then he thinks that now by using Harry's blood in this really obscure spell, all of a sudden he inherits the love. I don't buy that. So however it is, yeah, it seems like hearts matter. It seems like blood matters. But I think Dumbledore knows more than Voldemort here about this spell or about Harry's blood that Voldemort doesn't know. I don't know what it is yet, though. What if that's not Harry's mother? Or what if Voldemort doesn't really know who his parents
What if
are?
it had the
It's someone else's
reverse
blood.
effect? Like his blood is protecting Harry, but it does the opposite to like Voldemort.
Like infecting Voldemort? Like it's still protecting
Slowly.
him? Yeah.
yeah.
I also, at some point, I thought we were going to see a Wormtail moment with Harry where he was forced to protect him because of that weird magical
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That didn't come up, and I was like, okay, interesting. So I hope it still comes up, or it might have come up in ways we don't realize yet.
Because ancient magic, it seems like Voldemort doesn't know anything about.
Yeah, it
he
feels
even
like a lot
says
of
that.
people don't.
He even
like,
says
"Oh, I
like,
forgot."
Yeah, oh, I
But you
should have
didn't even
known.
think
I
of
it.
forgot
Right.
about this. I'm like, dude,
No,
you're about to take over the world and you're forgetting the ancient magic? Come on.
I'm also wondering, the beginning of this chapter, it shows a symbol of the Dark Mark, the skull and the snake. And I'm wondering what that is. Like, is the skull Voldemort's dad. Like when Voldemort's coming up with the Dark Mark, whose skull was he seeing? Which snake is that? Is it a baby? What's the snake called?
Basilisk.
Well, it could be that too, but I
Nagini?
mean Nagini. Yeah. And I was like, I'm curious if we're going to actually see the origins of that, like literally, or if they're just like, skulls are cool, snakes are cool. Combine them. But Dumbledore, he knows stuff.
Yeah.
And even with the next page, Fawkes, the Phoenix.
I was literally going to ask. That's in this chapter, right?
Yeah, it's right after
'Cause then
this
I
comes
have
up
this
with
whole
the blood.
theory on that thing.
Let's hear it.
What you got?
It's in this chapter.
Gosh. All right, fine. Well, I thought so. Hold on. Let me get my notes.
This is talking about twin cores, right?
Yeah. So then I'm like, then I was backing out of the whole story, and I'm like, okay, does we say Dumbledore knows everything in a way, right? And as I mentioned before, Harry keeps bringing up that Dumbledore looks old. And like that was never really mentioned before. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so did Dumbledore, did it set out to be that Dumbledore knew in the future that Voldemort was going to come to power? So in my mind, I'm thinking Fawkes maybe was always Dumbledore's pet. And he gave a feathered tail to Ollivander and was like, here, you could use this for your wands. Tom Riddle gets it. He's like, oh, great. Like this wizard has this, my wand, like the feather and the wand. He's a powerful wizard. And then he turns evil. Then Dumbledore is like, well, now I because of ancient magic, I know that Fawkes needs to give another tail feather because I know that there has to be a counteract to his wand because someone has to defeat him in the future somehow. And that Dumbledore knows he's getting old. And so then I backed all the way up. I'm like, well, then maybe did Dumbledore see in the Potters that they would be a great match for Voldemort in the future, and that Dumbledore wasn't going to live that long, and he needed a younger wizard to take on Voldemort in the future. So,
This is so good.
so
Oh my gosh, John's face right now.
know.
is
I'm
like-
so excited.
his face is like, wow, I'm
So
really
happy.
a nerd.
Yep.
Because he's like, what
Yep.
else do you have to say?
Please keep talking. I should have interrupted you. Oh my gosh, I'm so mad.
Oh, so Dumbledore was saying, okay, the Potters are going to be great. They have all these great qualities. And then maybe he first saw Harry Potter as the son. And he's like, okay, his son is going to be the one I choose to protect because he's going to be the one to be able to defeat Voldemort. And he sees this in the power of the blood or whatever, this ancient magic. And that is why the Potters were under attack by Voldemort, which is why they need a secret keeper. So that way, it was going to protect this person that could actually counteract Voldemort in the future because Dumbledore is dying and he needs someone to stand up against Voldemort's power in the future.
You guys are such nerds, and it makes me so happy.
Yep.
You guys are coming up with original theories that I've never even heard of before that I'm going to have to ask people on Reddit right now. Like, we're broaching new territory with this podcast right now. This is making me so excited. We're talking about fan theories right now.
Yep.
Oh. Like, do you think that it could possibly be that, so in your timeline, were the Potters always the right people to get this wand? Was Harry's son, like, was he the real match for him? Or did Fawkes, after all the Voldemort stuff happened, give a tail feather, and then Ollivander crafted a wand, and essentially Ollivander had to track whoever was going to take this wand, and whoever took this wand was essentially the person that was supposed to overthrow him. Could it, like, was it really Harry because Voldemort tried to kill Harry? Or was it just like,
No, I thought it was always Harry because in my theory of what I was just saying was that's the reason why Voldemort went after the Potters, because I can never understand in where we are now, why was Voldemort going after the Potters and why was he trying to kill them?
Yeah.
So in my mind, somehow Dumbledore, I don't know, like they were like the chosen family and like they knew that, or Dumbledore knew that they were going to be able to be powerful enough to go against Voldemort when Dumbledore was no longer going to be there. The only reason I was saying that is because it was mentioned so many times that he's looking old and fragile. So
Yeah.
I'm like, huh. And so it just backtracked all the way to that. And then I was like, was Fox always Dumbledore's pet? Or was he wild, feather, then he became Dumbledore's pet? And then Dumbledore's, nope, Fox, you need to give another one because this guy's crazy now. And the only way ancient magic is to have a same feather so it doesn't, the wands don't work properly.
Priori
against each
incantatum.
other.
Yeah, I feel like I can't tell because of the way Ollivander gave the wand to Harry. It was not the first wand.
Yeah.
He went through a lot of other wands.
I'm thinking that Dumbledore didn't tell Ollivander that.
Oh, no, I think he did because Ollivander sent him a message as soon as the wand was sold. Like almost like in my mind, I pictured it as I read. Like my initial reading was Ollivander thinks about that wand more than any other wand in his shop. And he's giving Harry all these others, like hopefully just kind of like, could it be?
Yeah.
And each one, he's like, it didn't work. Oh my goodness. He gives another one. It still
Like,
doesn't
he
work.
knows, but
And
he's building it
like,
up, the anticipation.
No way. And he gives him another one. It still doesn't work. And he's
can't
like,
give him the
it
first
can't
one.
be. And then he goes up and he's like, it's going to work. And he grabs the wand, the only wand he really thinks about. And then he gives it to Harry and it works. And he's like, Dumbledore, you're never going to guess.
Yeah.
He got the wand. He is the chosen one.
Because in the movie, it makes him look like he doesn't know what's going on because he's like sorting through all these things and he goes,
Yeah.
I wonder. And maybe he doesn't really wonder. Maybe he really knows and he's just building in the anticipation.
That's how I read it because this wand means something. And Ollivander knows it. Dumbledore knows it. They immediately corresponded right afterwards. But it's the Harry part that I can't tell if it was a plan or a curveball. And because of the blood thing, I have more like random thoughts of like Voldemort thinks that this love thing came from his mother. I'd have to go back and read through what Dumbledore has said about it and other people have said about it. But I also thought like maybe it didn't because in the order of when people died, maybe that love protection came from his father, not his mother. And it could have been a combination of the two. And then I keep asking myself the question, is Harry actually their son? Both of them. And if he wasn't, who would know about it? Could him and Neville have been switched at birth? Is his blood truly Potter blood? I don't know. Lots of questions, not a lot of answers. So just a lot of theories about like, I am reading this as Dumbledore knows more than Voldemort. Obviously. And the whole wand thing feels like it was a plan that Dumbledore set in place a long time ago. But I'm not sure.
So you mentioned Priori Incantatem before too, and this is
Yeah.
what Dumbledore talks about with that because this is even tying into the whole conversation. Because no spell can reawaken the dead, said Dumbledore heavily. All that would have happened is a kind of reverse echo. A shadow of the living Cedric would have emerged from the wand. Am I correct, Harry? So do you actually understand what happened with the wands? So they didn't battle each other because they were twin wands. And do you understand, like, because this is even questions that some people have for this. Does this happen with every wand or only twin core wands?
What do you mean, does this happen?
Like Priori Incantatem.
And like what it was is that they didn't work their spells didn't work properly.
Yeah.
And it kind of just went like haywire.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So instead of the actual spells that they were casting, instead it was a battle of Priori Incantatem to like reverse the other wand's previous spells.
Yeah. And
wonder-
Harry's...
That's
Sometimes it seemed like Dumbledore was talking about it being almost given up to luck. Like one of the wands will reverse the other one's spells and uncover what they've done. And it almost seems like Harry's just got the luck of the draw there.
Or I'm thinking like priori, is that like priority, like something about Fox's feather, like a more recent feather has more power, or like.
But then he also heard Fox. I feel like it was Fox the Phoenix.
He was
right?
hearing that.
Yeah,
and,
so I feel like it was like, okay, like you're the good side and I'm on the good side and you're like, I'm going to give you that power.
Yeah, that's
Because he
weird.
heard that voice.
I wonder I'm trying to think of what what his spells were recently. And then if those spells were being reversed in the world. while
Expelliarmus.
Yeah, but I feel like-
Expelliarmus.
stupefy or whatever else.
Well, he
did.
was in the maze too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he was just in the maze.
Yeah, I don't know, because it feels like Voldemort he was losing that whole time. It seems like we didn't see Harry losing.
But then could that also be because remember you said the blood thing and and Dumbledore twinkled or whatever we think. So like was it the fact that Harry's blood is somehow in him and is doing the opposite of what Voldemort thought because of ancient magic? And then it's like against the twin wand. I'm not really sure where I'm going with that, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying
right.
the combo maybe causes him to be weaker.
We don't know of any other twin wands, do we? Not yet.
That's why I was like,
How'd they discover that?
It's probably a pretty rare phenomenon. We just don't know of any in the
right?
book. I'm sure it's happened before in the past, or maybe a unicorn gives 2 feathers or something like that. I don't know.
2 hairs.
Hairs, yes. 2 feathers, sorry. 2 hairs.
Is it a Pegasus thing?
Yeah, a dragon gives 2 heartstrings, whatever that heartstring is.
I feel like, yeah. That sounds gross.
I know.
Like they're dead.
Sirius didn't seem to really know about it. He kind of did.
Yeah.
Like when Dumbledore said it, he was like, what, reversing the spell effect? Like, Like almost like he had to process it too. So again, it gives me this idea like this is advanced. Like to Dumbledore, it makes sense. He understands it. But even really, really powerful wizards like Sirius and maybe Voldemort, they didn't think of this.
Because they don't know about ancient magic. I feel like this is like the old timers,
Right.
like magic. And they're like,
Yep.
we're like the millennials and we don't know what the heck's going on.
And even Dumbledore's proximity to Nicholas Flamel, even though Dumbledore might not be that old, like he's hanging out with someone who is hundreds of years old. Like he can get ancient magic from the ancient dude. And I don't know. I feel like Dumbledore is putting in the legwork to learn and like really absorb this stuff that nobody else knows about. And it's showing here, but we don't understand it yet, really.
It was interesting because I think this is the chapter where he's like, that's what happened, right, Harry? Like he's saying what should happen in these things, but he's never actually experienced it or seen it. And then he's like, that's what you saw, right? And like Harry's like confirming
Yeah.
those actions.
It
that
says
happened.
one of the wands will force the other to regurgitate spells it has performed. Like that feels so singular. It's not a battle of regurgitating spells.
Yeah.
It's like one wand wins in this scenario, and that's it.
Yes.
Even though it took a lot of effort from Harry and it was an ongoing thing,
But
it's
But then I find it interesting though because if it's actually Fox's feather and Fox was helping Harry in the chamber or whatever it was.
yeah.
He came and like saved his life, cried on like he has a relationship somehow with Fox. So I wonder if that's playing into his wand powers too.
This is so good. This is so interesting. Pivot on this. Do you think Fudge is a coward?
I think Fudge
Could
is
he
evil.
be the coward?
I think he's evil.
Yeah.
He is a coward, but he's also a bit of a realist. I don't know. There were moments I was very angry with him. Other moments I think I understood. But in the end of it, I didn't think of him as evil. I thought of him as being scared. Just scared of Voldemort and pretending it's not real.
Yeah. That's how I took it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to live in his little rose-colored glass
Yeah.
world. And like, if I pretend this isn't real, it's fine
Yep.
for now.
But
Yeah.
could this be a ploy for him being evil though?
It
I mean,
could be a ploy.
I think so.
You do think so. You're on the evil train.
I think everyone's evil in this. I just because it was such. I agreed with both of you. Like at first, I was like, he just wants to live in his world and like pretend nothing is going on. But it's Dumbledore. If Dumbledore is saying something, I feel like a lot of people listen.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's
Yeah.
like pretending, and then I thought it was weird that he brought the Dementor to Crouch Jr. I was
That
like, why would you do that? And I'm
over
like, I
the
feel like you're
line.
covering up something that would have come out. So now I don't trust you at all. And now you're in charge of the Ministry of Magic. And I don't know. There's a few things and I can't remember the specifics right now. But I was just like, I feel like you're somehow leaning on the Voldemort side. and allowing things to just happen, but you're allowing them to happen because you want them to happen.
Convenient.
Yeah.
And it seems as though, oh, it's just convenience, or I'm going to like ignore this so that way you can rise to power, and then I'll join you again.
So if he's evil, because this is one of the things I was thinking through, is he one of the ones that Voldemort knows about, or is this a new evil? Like,
New
is
person
he
coming
the
up.
coward, the one who left and isn't coming back, the most faithful servant? Like, Voldemort seemed to have like a pretty good tally of like who was his, and he's like 3 dudes. So
I thought there were still people missing though, and the
other people
grave.
missing?
No, was it all accounted for?
Maybe I'd have to reread that part. In my head, there were just 3 people who didn't show up, and Harry would have recognized Fudge if he was there.
There definitely were more
They
than
had
3 because
masks.
people were in prison.
True,
So
you're
those
right.
other 3
Oh, he
people,
accounted for those. Yes.
Yeah. Some are in
The-
prison. They'll be rewarded beyond what they can even
The
imagine
couple-
or something like that. Yeah.
Were there 6 empty
And-
spots? Why am
I think
thinking
so.
6.
Yeah, because it was the 3 prison people and then the 3 he addressed.
Okay,
so it's
yeah.
the couple with the crazy laughing woman, the
Yeah.
people that went to prison with Crouch Jr.
For
That all
torturing the
deserve
Longbottoms.
to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
to prison.
I forget what those, the tall guy and then the couple. Could Crouch have been in there? With Polyjuice, anything's possible.
I know.
I meant
Is
Fudge,
Dumbledore
not
really
Crouch.
Dumbledore?
Yeah, well, I'm like,
Oh,
well,
boy.
what kind of swap? Maybe
Oh my
all along
gosh.
Crouch was meant to be the head of the Ministry of Magic, but he had to do it in the form of Fudge. So they swapped places before.
I really
Where does
love
it end?
Yeah, I really love Dumbledore's speech to Fudge here though. Because he goes, "You are blinded," said Dumbledore, his voice rising now, the aura of power around him palpable, his eyes blazing once more. "By the love of the office you hold, Cornelius. You place too much importance, and you always have done, on the so-called purity of blood. You fail to realize that it matters not what someone is born, but what they grow to be. Your Dementor has just destroyed the last remaining member of a pure blood family as old as any. You see what that man chose to make of his life. I tell you now, take the steps I have suggested, and you will be remembered, in office or out, as one of the greatest and bravest ministers of magic we have ever known. Fail to act, and history will remember you as the man who stepped aside and allowed Voldemort a second chance to destroy the world we have tried to rebuild." So good. Oh my
Powerful
God.
says that
Speech.
too, yeah.
I know.
And then I think that's probably why also, because he was obsessed with the pure blood thing, and
Yep.
that's the Voldemort thing.
Yeah, that is fishy.
So
He has a lot of fishiness to him. Do you think, I guess maybe this is the question that we're kind of asking here too, but do you think Fudge just doesn't believe this because he wants to live in bliss and ignorance, or is he really paving the path for Voldemort in active ways?
can it be both?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, 100% it can be both. Yeah. And what do you think of Dumbledore in this moment too? Is he just increasing like your
Oh, it's so great.
love of him?
Oh yeah.
Because he is for me. I love him so much.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so cool.
awesome. And it feels like he's appealing to Fudge's pride too.
Yeah.
Like he's just wording it so perfectly.
I know.
He's trying to be like, he's inspirational. And then for Fudge to shut him down after that, I was like so annoyed with him.
Oh,
You're an idiot.
But the whole thing about bringing the Dementor in and all that, and now we know Dementors are evil. I'm like, well, Dumbledore didn't address it, but I'm like, I don't trust that Crouch Jr. is gone.
yeah.
Can Dementors absorb people and bring them out, or like, part of his soul or whatever that is? I'm just like, this feels
Yeah.
sketchy as anything. If the Dementors are already on the side of evil, if they already know that Voldemort's back, or there was something bigger that was put into place with Dementors, then I'm like, this is really weird, because they could be doing something fishy with Crouch Jr. And then Fudge seems to be in on it. So that if he was evil, I feel like this might not be the end of Crouch Jr. Because if Fudge is evil, why would he kill Crouch Jr.?
But that whole thing is so weird because is it all the Dementors or just some of the Dementors are like Death
Yeah.
Eaters too? Because I find it weird that why would they want to kill people that are on their side kind of thing? And like now I'm thinking
Yes.
all the people in Azkaban, like if they're suck the death kiss or whatever that thing is called, now they're like destroying people that are very high up on the evil side. So why would
right.
they go against their own side.
Yep.
So now I'm like, either that, what you're saying is like they're like moving their bodies to a different, or their soul to a different body, or saving it for later or something. Like
What did they say? A natural alliance between Dementors and evil. And I'm like, well, I don't know what a natural alliance means, but Dumbledore's never been fond of Dementors. And the Ministry seems to be using them like a lot for random things, to hunt down Sirius and like guard people.
Was
and I
that
don't
always
understand
the
why.
case,
Yeah,
or
was
is
it
that-
always, or is that something Fudge put in place?
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know.
We just don't like Fudge. That's what we know, right?
We definitely don't like him. Doesn't mean he's evil, but I don't like him.
Besides Dumbledore, who would be a good minister of magic?
Mr. Weasley could be all right.
Yeah.
He's a little childish, but
Yeah.
no more than
So that
Fudge.
might be a little.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, can't be moody. Serious. Sirius isn't
I have
cut
a
out
press
for the
conference. I'm
corporate
actually
world.
just going to go to bed right now.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I feel like it would be a 3-ring circus.
I'd actually be okay with Amos Diggory.
Yeah.
I feel like he might have what it takes, but he's a little rude. I don't love him.
Yeah.
But
He's been through it now. Right now,
Yeah.
he could be good. 2 lines. I want to talk about one in particular. Time is short, and unless a few of us who know the truth do not stand united, there is no hope for any of us. He's talking to Sirius and Severus at this moment. Then he goes, Severus, said Dumbledore, turning to Snape, you know what I must ask you to do, if you are ready, if you are prepared. I am, said Snape. He looked slightly paler than usual, and his cold black eyes glittered strangely. Then good luck, said Dumbledore. And he watched, with a trace of apprehension on his face, as Snape swept wordlessly after Sirius. What is happening there?
I feel like he either is going to somehow go back to Voldemort and try to play double agent, but Voldemort already knows that he's a double agent, so he would probably just kill him. Then I was thinking maybe he's coming up with a potion that he has to like somehow sacrifice himself to give it to Voldemort, or something serious where I feel like he's risking his life because the way he reacted.
I thought he was sending Snape to do something with the Dementors. Either that or going back to Voldemort. But we know that Dumbledore wanted 2 things accomplished. The Giants, Dementors. So he took care of the Giants with Hagrid, we assume. So I thought he sent Snape to take care of Dementors.
What does that mean though?
I don't know.
A potion?
And Dumbledore just might not know if he could trust him because
Maybe.
there's a little bit of apprehension on his face for some of that kind of stuff. We'll talk about this the rest. The rest of the whole podcast, we're going to be asking, what was the gleam in Dumbledore's eye? What was the thing he asked Snape to do? Maybe a more grand question. How, and maybe the next book kind of question, how do you think Harry is going to deal with his survivor's guilt? Do you think he's dealing with it well right now? And how do you think he's going to go about this in the future?
I think he's doing an okay job dealing with it. I don't know the right way to do it.
I don't know if he's even processing it yet. Though.
You don't
like,
think so? Yeah.
I don't think so.
Where was that? I
So
mean,
you say
he
he
did.
sorry.
Keep talking.
You say he hasn't processed through the death of Cedric yet?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because there's I should know it from work. All the steps of grief, right? It's like anger, denial.
Yeah, I forget the steps.
There's
Yeah.
like 5 steps.
But
or
the last
whatever.
one's acceptance.
It's so soon after. I mean, I liked this line. It said it was costing him every bit of determination he had to keep talking. I guess when he was talking to Dumbledore. Yet he sensed that once he finished, he would feel better. So the fact that he acknowledged that in the moment, I thought was pretty big. But from experience, it's like the numbness doesn't set in until a little bit after.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like I think back on my experience. It's like I remember the day of like a tragic thing, and then the following year I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a blur.
Yeah. So like to your point, it's like I don't know. Like I liked that he talked it through in the moment to kind of get it going. But and everyone processes differently. It's like
Yeah.
there's no right way.
Yeah, I
You
know.
just kind of go with it.
As far as Harry's personality, like he has maturity, but do you think he's going to have the maturity to not be really affected by this? Or do you think it's going to really drag out in the next book where he's going to be pretty devastated by this and trying to live with the guilt of bringing Cedric along with him?
I think he's gonna have like triggers of certain things that are gonna set him off, and he'll like freeze or not be able to do something.
Huh. I kind of hope so,
You hope,
but
he
I didn't
has
think so.
triggers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
hope
think
he
that would show
has-
maturity. I think he's like a little arrogant, Harry, in general. So in my mind, I viewed it like he'd move on quick and it wouldn't carry into the next book. But if it does, if it stays with him, that would be a sign of growth to me. Like that Cedric really mattered to him. But he has experienced loss before with his parents and everything else. So if it didn't phase him, that wouldn't surprise me.
He didn't actually experience the loss of his
True,
parents.
not directly.
He just never had them. That's totally. I feel like that's totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't have to face
There's
that
no
loss.
grief there. You just never had them.
I mean,
There is, I mean, some kind of lacking, but I don't think it's.
yeah, but I mean, in this moment, it's like he actually had Cedric's
Dead
body,
body.
in his arms.
Yeah.
And it
It's
was
a little traumatic
That-
in a
and it
different
was
way.
like his fault.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
To
true.
an extent.
Directly.
Well,
Right.
He
yeah,
feels
pretty
that
much.
it is, even
I mean,
though
I
people
think
said it
is too,
wasn't.
because I was like, you shouldn't have brought him
Yeah. Just
with
yeah.
you.
No, but he wanted to go. Like in a weird way, I feel like if Harry makes it his own fault, that makes sense. I'm not like hating on him for it, but it also takes something away from Cedric. Like it's Voldemort's fault. Did Dumbledore say that or Sirius? I feel like someone brought it up. Like this
Yeah.
is nobody's fault.
Yeah.
But Voldemort.
Yep.
Didn't like Hermione say that?
Maybe. Very wise. She could. I'm not sure.
Maybe not. Maybe Mrs. Weasley. It's a female, probably.
Dumbledore. It says the only one against
Yes!
whom I intend to work, said
Yeah,
Dumbledore,
males.
is Lord Voldemort. If you are against, I don't know if this is what you were talking about.
Yeah,
but it's
no,
kind
this is, yeah.
If you and he was talking to, I don't know if you.
Fudge.
Was he talking
I
to
think.
Fudge?
Yeah.
If you are against him, then we remain, Cornelius on the same side.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jen.
He's so good in this chapter. Oh, I love Dumbledore so much in these. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he progresses with this, how he matures, how he discovers if he is growing more mature or not, how he processes through this. Does say, what did you think of this line where it goes, there was a loud slamming noise and Mrs. Weasley and Harry broke apart. Hermione was standing by the window. She was holding something tight in her hand. When you read that for the first time, were you like,
Oh, what did I write in there?
I just got annoyed because I was like, Harry needed to cry.
I know.
That's what I was thinking.
For real. And Hermione's standing there slamming a jar shut or
Like
something.
bad timing. Sorry, I know you were going a different route, but that's where my mind was.
It's like when you're in a really emotional moment and someone like does something just silly or stupid, you're like, let me cry.
Yeah. Well, he was like, because Harry wasn't going to give into it, but it was like right at the cusp.
I know.
And I was like, oh, bad timing, Hermione. Anyway.
I just said the thing to get Rita. I didn't know what it was. I assumed Hermione like did something to get her, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't think she got her.
Literally.
I'm like, what the? I almost pictured it more like Hermione was like, I've got her. Yes.
Yeah. An idea.
So that was just funny
Wait,
when
so
that,
she was in the room listening to this conversation.
which
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Hermione's like,
and Hermione was just waiting
I
for
missed
it.
all that.
Yeah. And I love that Hermione knew. So I'm sure during this whole conversation, I could imagine. I wish we'll see if they do this in the movies. They don't do this in the movies. But in their conversation, it'd be so fun to see like her just like walking around in the background, just looking for
oh,
something. And all of a sudden
yeah.
she catches this. Because I feel like that's what she's doing. She's not really fully, she's part of the conversation, but she's not fully
Right.
part of the conversation. Then she sees this beetle fly.
Did she know it was a beetle? Like, I wonder, did she
Yeah.
actually know she was a beetle, or she was looking for something small,
Like
to
anything.
appear?
Yeah.
Pigeon or like whatever we said.
I feel like she did know it was a beetle because she had interacted with it before. So when they said bugging, I think she put all the pieces together of like, I had a beetle in my hair. There was a beetle in this part. There was a beetle in the bush, all that kind of stuff. So I think she put it together and was able to like
you guys
capture
talking
it.
about flies.
I know.
Like,
Classic.
So good.
Which when I said the fly on the wall, I did not.
I know. I was so happy you said that. Because we harped on that for so long. And we were like, there it is.
It took me forever to put it together, too. It was like 3 episodes. I was like, wait, is that why you keep bringing this up?
She texted me. She's like, is the reason you keep harping on me wanting to be a fly because of Rita? And I'm like, yes, because it's a perfect segue to talk about that kind of stuff.
I was like, wow, I'm a little slow on the uptake here.
Bringing it back in at the beginning of this book was great.
Any other questions in this chapter?
I think I had my first good tear up moment when the Weasleys and Hermione came to Harry after all of this. Even though Dumbledore stepped right in and kind of like blocked the moment.
Yeah.
To me, I also felt that because it felt like a relief, like a safe space.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was so great that they're all there. Like, it was like if Dumbledore and Snape and all them didn't come rescue Harry, they were about to.
Yeah.
Like they were just like charging in,
They were
like
ready.
we're going to come to Harry. So I love that.
And he gets the dreamless sleep, which is wonderful.
Yes. Oh my goodness. The money came up twice and it just felt so crude.
Yeah.
Ugh, when Fudge just plops the money down. And then even later when Mrs. Weasley, she's like, well, you can think about all the things you're going to spend your money on. I'm just like, shut
I
your
know.
big dumb mouth. Like, this is not the time. Harry's dealing with real stuff. So yeah, sorry to be so harsh towards Mrs. Weasley, but in that moment, I was genuinely annoyed at her. I'm like, be sensitive, goodness. But everyone's just talking about money. I mean, money matters, I guess, but like not in this moment compared to everything he's been through. So yes, that was the only other thing I had noted here.
Mrs. Weasley is a woman of highs and lows.
Yeah.
Like she has, honestly, the moments that you tear up in are the moments that she is incredibly tender.
Yep.
When she hugs Harry, and it's like a hug like he's never felt before. You're
I
like
was
that.
just going to comment on that.
It is like, it's one of the greatest feelings ever. I'm not a big hugger, but every once in a while, I have a friend back in Dallas, and I think I told the story a while ago. And she gave me a hug that was like disarming, and it was like a long hug. She just held me, and I was like, and then all of a sudden you just like accept it, and you like melt, and you're like, this is great. I need this.
And it does feel like a very
See the look of
mom
shock
thing
on your
too.
face.
It's so
I
great.
was like patting her on the head. Okay, and then all of a sudden
Are
you're
we
like,
done?
oh, this is nice. The hug that she gives is just so good. And then when she surprises Harry too, and she's excited, those are the moments that I really tear up in. But then she's like, you can think about your money. And I'm like, you were doing so good.
And maybe it's not as crude as it came across to me, but just like to bring it up, I was just annoyed. Ugh.
Agreed.
Because it felt like she was like Fudge in that moment. Because Fudge brought it up. I was like,
I know.
But Harry had no memory of ever being hugged like this, as though by a mother.
Yeah.
It's a devastating line. It's so good.
Yep.
Ron made me laugh when he told his mom to shut up.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, you're going to get a beating later. What did he tell her to shut up for?
I was just going to look it up. Hold on. Oh, it was when Sirius Black
That's right.
transformed back. She said, Sirius Black, she shrieked. Ron.
Oh, that was.
Mom, shut up. It's okay.
Yeah. She's like, oh, wow. Like, was she out of the
so
loop this
funny.
whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All of them
so
were out of the loop. That's the
crazy.
crazy thing.
Like, how
about this.
bizarre. That must have
Yeah.
been insane for her. Like, she still thought of him as being an evil criminal out to
Yeah.
kill Harry, like this whole time. And then all of a sudden she just sees him like, oh.
They're probably still worrying
My
about
goodness.
Sirius
And
Black.
then Ron's just like, old news, mom. All right.
Yeah.
I also loved when Dumbledore was giving instructions at the beginning of the chapter. I think that was the beginning of this one. To McGonagall and Snape, and just says these like weird things, and they didn't question it at all.
Yeah.
And Harry addressed that. He said kind of like, it was cool that when Dumbledore gives instructions, they just take it.
Yeah.
Like, he's powerful. He's telling me go get a dog. Sure, I'm gonna get that dog.
Don't
I
know
don't
what
care
that
what it is.
means.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that was cool to see.
Yeah.
That respect.
Yeah. Do you think he's respected too much, or do you think he deserves that respect?
I think Dumbledore deserves
Were you
it.
going to say something? Because all of a sudden I see this. I asked a question. You slowly brought the mic over.
Oh,
And I
no.
looked at Jen. I was like, do you have something to say about
Oh,
this?
no.
Okay.
No, I.
Nice.
So very superficial. Anyway.
So no, I'm glad you noticed that moment. Now that everybody knows.
My bad.
Yeah, I think he deserves it.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's earned it.
He just
over
seems like he
time.
demands respect in the room.
Yep. And if not him, who else? And I think I forget. I think my friend Giovanni gave me this quote at some point. Like, the wrong thing done together in a crisis, like in situations in war, etc., the wrong thing done together is better than the right thing done divided. So it's kind of like, in this moment, Dumbledore is the one giving the instructions, but like, even if it was someone else, the fact that it was purposeful, it was like, someone has a plan. So let's just act on this and figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
And of course, if Dumbledore is the one saying it, you're definitely going to listen.
Yeah.
But in crisis, it almost feels like anyone could step up and be that leader if they needed to be.
Yeah, agreed. Oh. All right, let's go to the last chapter, the beginning. Unless you guys have anything else in the previous. But what is a summary of the beginning, chapter 37? Very quick.
I think I wrote one. Let me look.
I was gonna say either you or
Ride back to London debrief. You want to do it? Rita is a beetle. Fred and George never got money from Bagman, so Harry gave them their winnings, and they hexed Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle. Yep, I think that was about
That's
it.
a great part, and he steps over him.
Yeah.
Steps on Malfoy. I think you were talking about this line before, but Harry, when he's in a conversation with Ron and Hermione, the Diggorys, it says they did not blame him for what happened. On the contrary, they both thanked him for returning Cedric's body to them. Mr. Diggory sobbed through most of the interview. Mrs. Diggory's grief seemed beyond tears. What are your thoughts on the Diggorys? I mean, we started not liking them a lot, and I still think Amos has his issues.
Yeah.
But what do you
Is
think
that
about
their
them?
only child? Right?
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Okay.
he's an only child. The glory of Hufflepuff House. True Hogwarts champion to Cedric.
Oh, sad.
I know.
And like the dad was obsessed with him too.
I know. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
That's a really sad part because his dad was like a little overwhelming, probably vicariously living through his son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the grief that comes with someone who is so obsessed with their son that they end up losing their son is rough. This guy's never going to be the same.
Yep.
I don't think he'll go dark, but
Yeah.
And maybe this makes him fight even
anything,
more
right.
passionately
Yeah.
against Voldemort.
or like he's willing to sacrifice anything because he's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
well, I lost my son, so I'll die doing this. Send me on the mission. I want to get him.
Whoa.
I could see that.
Yeah, that'd be epic.
This is a weird line. He goes, she went to ask him if you could come straight to us this summer. Ron is talking to Harry. But he wants you to go back to the Dursleys, at least at first. Why does Dumbledore want Harry to go back to the Dursleys?
Because of the ancient magic being near his relations.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Still seems weird. I still don't fully get it. But it's safer at the Dursleys than the Weasleys. Or even if I'm not going to say safer, it is better for Harry. Because I trust Dumbledore. Something about this, the Dursleys are better than the Weasleys. Not as people, but as a location for Harry.
Whoa,
clarify.
yeah.
And I haven't quite figured out why. But the only thing I can come up with is the ancient magic.
Yeah.
Or he did something on the house, maybe.
Yeah. It
the
could be a
Muggle.
big old secret keeper scenario or something.
I thought it was more like he doesn't want to disrupt them thinking anything's going on. Like go back.
Act like everything's normal.
Because they might do something crazy. I don't know what.
Yeah. And not that the Dursleys would even care, but it is for kind of keeping up appearances for certain things. I think that's a good point.
Dumbledore's got his reasons, said Ron. It's true.
Do you feel like Dumbledore doesn't communicate certain things and he should communicate some things? Do you think he's wise to keep a lot of this stuff to himself?
Probably.
I don't know.
I do think sometimes because in all these evil versus good, it's like the more information you know, the more the evil person being wants to get the information out of you. So the less you know, you're not giving
That's
up
fair.
any like secrets. So if Dumbledore keeps all these secrets, you can't learn anything more about him. Like you can't learn how he's thinking, how he's protecting, what magic he's using, because he's not telling anyone.
Yeah, it's true.
It sucks being on the outside, but
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
almost think of it like a bit of a power dynamic of like, because knowledge is power, Dumbledore keeping the secrets and being the only one who knows the reasons, it keeps him in that like authority stance because he's the only one who knows. But I feel like he probably should tell Harry a little bit more. Like, why? Why go to the Dursleys? Give him some comfort there. Like, just tell him. I'm just a fan of more communication is always better, and Dumbledore is not. So I don't mind it, but I would like to know his reasons.
And there isn't a dynamic too where Harry doesn't necessarily ask him some of this stuff. Like if he asked
Yeah,
him, maybe.
you're right.
But at the first book, Harry did ask him at the first question. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Harry, I can't answer that one. So even if he asked, he probably couldn't answer some, which would maybe frustrate Harry more. Maybe that's even the reason he doesn't necessarily ask Dumbledore at all, because he's like, he probably wouldn't answer me this question.
Right.
So maybe he'll be frustrated at that moment or something. I don't know.
And blind trust is almost easier in a weird way. You don't
Yeah.
have to think about it. Just Dumbledore says, Dumbledore has his reasons. I'll do it.
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
Yeah. Two other good lines, or one good line, and I want to talk about another point. Hagrid just is great. Hagrid, I feel like, is a good comforter. Brings about a little comedy, and then he goes, "No good sitting worrying about it." He said, "What's coming will come, and we'll meet it when it does." Dumbledore told me what you did, Harry. I love that line. It's like there's no point in sitting here worrying about any of this kind of stuff. Go on living your life, and then when it comes, we'll worry about it then. He is, in a goofy, dumb way, he's just so wise, and I love Hagrid so much for it. But there's another line. Harry caught a glimpse of Cho through the crowd. There were tears pouring silently down her face. He looked down at the table as they all sat down again. So Cho is going to be pretty impacted by this, but I think the more important question is, what kind of crier are you guys?
Not the question I was expecting.
I'll start. I am a crier who I can't breathe when I cry. I'm like if it's just like, tearing up, I can tear up and it's not going to be, but if I like full on cry, I won't be able to speak because I can't breathe in. Like I'm like everything is getting out. And then the one time I do breathe in, it's like, it's like a pathetic cry. And then I'm like all out from that point on. I can't quietly cry. I would love to be able to quietly cry, but
I think for me, it's 80% of the time silent tears because I can hold with muscle the rest of my body together. But one time I was at that point and my sister gave me a hug, and in that hug I just broke to pieces. And then it's the sobbing, the breathing, the whole thing. Oh goodness, can't speak.
yeah.
And then it just feels like you're not in control anymore, but that's what feels so good.
Yeah.
It's letting it out.
Yep.
Therapeutic.
Yeah. I've had a couple of those while driving and had to pull over.
Oh yeah.
Like I couldn't see.
This is
And
not
just-
safe.
Yeah.
It sucks too because driving is a great place to do it, but it's not a great place to do
I
it.
know. Because I have all my emotional moments in the car by myself.
Well, that's so great. You could get there.
Yeah.
I can get there. I have
For
to
me,
make
I'll
myself
hide
get there.
from that place and say, I will not go there now.
Yeah. I did that for too long. Finally, I was
So
like, I just
freeing.
got to get it out.
Yeah.
Or watch a sad movie to egg it on.
Yeah. About time. Anytime I need a moment, about time.
Oh,
What's that
Does
one
it?
movie you made me watch? You made me watch. I asked for a
Lars and
suggestion.
the Real Girl?
No.
That's a tearjerker.
No. I forget what it was, but I was literally like, I couldn't see the TV. I was sobbing.
Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Yep, that's it.
Crushes you.
ooh.
I wept during that
terrible.
movie. I wept during that movie. That was so
Yeah.
good.
Something like that. I'm like, if I need to cry,
Ask
perfect
John
movie.
for recommendations.
I am great for recommendations that'll make you cry. It's my kind of movie. What kind of crier are you, Jen? The world wants to know.
Oh yeah, they definitely. I cry at everything. I could silently cry. I can tear up. I could see someone crying and then I start tearing up as if I know what's going on in their life. I can cry when I'm pissed off. I'll cry.
Really?
Oh my gosh. If I'm angry, it comes out crying. Like I'll try to relay things and I'm upset, but it's upset like anger, and then it comes out crying, and then I'm like, I look weak because I'm trying to get my point across and all I'm doing is crying and I can't even get a word out. It just, yeah. So it's crying, can't talk.
That
Yeah.
one. I hate that
That's
feeling
me.
when you do it and you're like, everyone's you. I had to do that, and I had to give a eulogy for someone, and that was devastating. And because they were someone I really, really loved, and when I was talking, I was like holding it together, and then I had to stop because tears were coming down, and I couldn't breathe in. Yeah, you remember that? And I remember, like, I did breathe in, and it was just a mess, and I was just a mess from that point on. And I was just like, I said a few things after that, like 2 sentences, and I was like, I'm done. Can't do this anymore. Devastating. Well, anyway.
But I feel like it's interesting because I feel like it's accepted for like women to cry in public, but
Yeah.
guys like not so much. Why are you crying? You should be tough.
Yeah,
I
right?
don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
One time I cried in public and a random guy just came up and put his arm around me. It was so comforting. It was the
Wow.
sweetest thing.
That's
I'll never see him
incredible.
again, but it was great. And then I got to do that for someone. I was on a train once, and this like Italian girl was sitting in this car, 4 of us. Pretty similar train to what Harry, Hermione
Wow.
were on. And
You're on the
Ron.
Hogwarts Express.
Like
were
it was
ya?
like one of those things of 4 people. Yeah, I was on the way to school.
It's like you were going and you didn't tell me.
Actually, maybe I was in England. I don't remember. But yeah, she starts crying and she didn't speak English. I didn't speak Italian. So I just like gave her the pack of tissues that I had. And that was her moment of breaking down because she was holding it together in this car. And then the mom and this 4-year-old kid were the other 2 in our car. Then the kid goes over and comforts her. It was the cutest moment.
That's
None of us communicated
beautiful.
with each other.
Yeah.
But it was like, that was the moment where then she felt safe enough to like sob out loud. And I was like, wow, this was such a strange moment.
It makes me so happy.
But yeah, those moments are cool.
Yeah.
Crying makes you happy.
Yeah. Like wholesome crying.
just had to
in a
say it.
weird way.
Like, yeah.
It's like such a sad moment. This makes me so happy. I know what you meant. I'm sorry.
Come
Yeah.
on.
You harped on me for the fly. I'm harping on
Oh, respect.
getting you
Yeah,
back.
I'm the crier.
Everything else.
Pretty much. How about this one? Remember Cedric. Remember, if the time should come when you have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy. Remember what happened to a boy who was good and kind and brave because he strayed across the path of Lord Voldemort. Remember Cedric Diggory.
I loved how he told them because he said that everyone's saying I shouldn't tell you
Yeah.
the truth
Yeah.
about this. And I feel like that was great because I feel like they're going to be in a war of good versus evil and like remember this moment.
Yep.
And it seems like a 3-way war. The evil versus the good pretending it's not happening and the good that knows it's happening. Because the chapter before is a parting of the ways. Fudge could be evil, but he also could be good. So we're seeing a division of good so that it's evil versus 2 good sides, kind of. So it feels like Dumbledore's trying to like build distrust and say like, at some point, these students are going to have to make a choice, whether they're going to fight Voldemort or agree with their parents or whatever else. I don't know. But the Ministry versus Dumbledore, Fudge versus Dumbledore versus Voldemort.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he's being honest.
Yeah, it was a powerful thing, kind of like what you were saying, Jen, that he like made a point to say, remember Cedric, because they actually lived it. It's easier to just like in theory try to pick a side.
Right.
But he was like, I can pinpoint them to an actual event that they experienced that Voldemort caused. That they were pretty much, they weren't there, but they knew him,
Right.
knew Cedric. So I thought that was a powerful thing that he said.
Well, he was the Triwizard nominee, whatever.
Champion.
Yeah. So like he's supposed to be like the best out of the school too. So
Wow,
it
yeah.
plays into that even more where it's like, remember he represented us and he was innocent and he was good and like remember this for a
Yeah.
future.
I love that he. Obviously, Dumbledore's going to do this, but he calls him good and kind and brave, rather than like the Hogwarts champion, like beloved. He calls him these things. I remember. I'm just gonna like give myself a pat on the back. And when I was with you, Danny, at summer camp in 5th grade, we each got. Do you remember what the
One time at band camp.
What?
Sorry.
What?
She's referencing a movie.
I said that one time at band camp. Sorry. Just ignore me.
Do you remember what your accolade was? Because every student, every kid that went got this like little sheet of paper that was like what they were, or what they were best at, or something like that.
No, I don't remember.
I was mad. I remember at the moment because I got I wanted to get most athletic, and I didn't get most athletic. I got most caring because my counselor saw me in the gift shop shopping for gifts for my siblings and my parents.
That is awesome.
And I got them little stupid trinkets of things. But I remember I got most caring. I was like, oh, bummer.
Ew,
stinks.
caring,
Yeah,
lame. I'll be
know.
athletic.
I know.
Good at sports.
But I'm like, in this instance, this is great. He's being known as being good and kind and brave. And those are the things that you should really value in a person
Yeah,
rather than
so
athleticism
true.
and, you know, being a good champion and being, yeah. So I love that. I love the memorial that he gives him here. Do you think people will actually believe Dumbledore? So this is kind of stuff talking about the next book. Do you think that there is going to be a mass movement in Hogwarts? First of all, do you think that the next 3 books are going to be in Hogwarts? Like, do you think that they're going to go through their school year again? And
Oh, I think I know.
do you think
'Cause I
people are going to actually believe Dumbledore, or do you think they're going to side with Fudge?
I saw glimpses like of of the next movie, and I didn't know what movie it was, but now I have an idea of what was going on.
Well, no spoilers.
You watched all the movies. Oh my God.
I don't remember them. I don't actually
didn't.
know if I saw 6 or 7.
I
but
walked by it and I heard like a thing going
Yeah.
on, and I was like, that seems weird, but it didn't register until like now.
You got to text me after to let me know what that is.
Yeah. But I think
what? What do you think?
I was just wondering. I feel like it's gonna be Hogwarts, and I wonder if like half the students are not gonna come back, maybe because the parents don't want them to finish school there. But that wouldn't make sense because I guess they need to finish school. I just think it's gonna be a division in the school, so it's gonna be interesting to see. It's like evil, and then like the 2 goods of like my parents think this, so like I don't really trust Dumbledore. Or I just think it's gonna be like dividing the school by like students, what their parents believe and what they believe in.
So Dumbledore is back to full power. Do you think he's going to make his presence known in
Voldemort
the
or
next
Dumbledore?
book? Sorry, Voldemort, yeah.
Okay.
I'm messing up.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure I was following correctly.
Do you think he's going to make his power known in the next book?
I think so. He seems that showy type.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ooh, maybe by the end. Because I just don't know if he could. Like,
Although
I'm wondering what happened in that grave
his
now.
ego
He just
is
lost to Harry.
I
Yeah.
know.
Like, now he's got to convince his Death Eaters that he's actually strong because Harry just defeated him again. Like, in a sense,
Yep.
he was telling all his Death Eaters, don't kill Harry. I'm going to take care of it. And then he couldn't take care of it. Like, it feels like he's not at full power yet.
You
He's
think
getting there.
The
but I
Death
don't know.
Eaters now are second guessing their
I feel like they would have
alliance?
to.
wonder.
I don't know, but like they're still scared of him.
Yeah.
None of them would want to take him on.
Well,
but
I mean, now they. Yeah.
I don't know.
But I feel like they're also trapped because like they're already
Yes.
a Death Eater, and so now if you're like, oh shoot, his power is defeated by Harry Potter,
And
I can't.
Harry
leave
saw
him.
them. Like Harry knows some of the people that were there. So like he knows Mr. Malfoy was there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so now I feel
Yeah,
like they're
how
in a
is
weird
this
spot
gonna
of like
play out?
they have to now call Harry a liar if they're back in the real world, or they have to just not go back to the real world.
But you think that they
don't know.
know that Harry knew it was them? Because didn't they have their mask
I was
on?
just
But
going
it
to
was,
say
like,
maybe
just
it
their
was like an
voice.
unmistakable voice that
Yeah.
Harry couldn't tell for sure. That might be true. I forget.
So like, I wonder. They're like, oh, he doesn't know that it's me.
But I feel like Voldemort used names and was addressing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, why can't Harry tell Dumbledore all these people, and then they can go get them?
Yeah, he can try, but that's why I think Dumbledore doesn't have the power to get them
Well,
anymore.
because Fudge
doesn't
doesn't
believe
believe
it.
them.
Yeah.
But what if he told Fudge all this stuff? Like, hey, oh, he did try, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Did.
he
That was the
definitely
wild
did,
part.
yeah.
Fudge, one of the
That's
most
why I didn't like
infuriating lines to me was he goes, oh, Lucius Malfoy, there's no record. Big giver to the Ministry of
Yeah.
Magic. And I was
see,
like,
that's where I was
oh
like,
my gosh.
Yep.
You're
Hated that.
evil.
Yeah.
I
So
don't think.
Seriously.
I
bad.
think Fudge
Oh
is
my
evil.
goodness. Oh, man, I don't know. I think it does have to be at Hogwarts. I'm also thinking that this dynamic of the Ministry versus Dumbledore is something that was less spoken about, but was already felt. Almost like people who go to Hogwarts already like Dumbledore to a certain degree. But I don't know.
Didn't Fudge say something like about like that you believe in this mixed blood thing or whatever? Not everyone. Maybe I'm making this up. I don't remember. Never mind.
He did. He said you have the like your pure blood stuff. You're saying Dumbledore said it to Fudge, or Fudge said it to?
No, I thought Fudge was saying like you're like hallucinate, like you think
Yeah.
that it's gonna be great with like this mixed blood stuff, and you're wrong, and not everyone believes you, but they've been going along with it, and now you're gonna lose those people. But maybe I'm making that up.
What do you think about Hermione keeping Rita in a jar with a few twigs?
So great.
That's outrageous.
It's hilarious.
I know.
We haven't heard anything from her yet because I have her in the jar.
It's so
But
funny.
like
to
she
me.
can't transform into a human and break the jar.
No, because she
But
put
she's
an
got a
anti-breaking
spell
charm
on
on
it.
it.
Or charm.
Oh, that's right.
So she is locked in prison as an animagus for a year at least.
Why did they do that to Wormtail?
I know. Oh, drives me crazy. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, well
Woulda,
then there
coulda,
wouldn't be
shoulda.
a story, but
Yeah.
still.
The fact that Rita was at Hogwarts this whole time in the form of a bug, I also thought she could be the most faithful servant stationed at Hogwarts for a moment. And I was like, probably not. Too many other viable candidates. But
Yeah, Toodles was saying that too on our chat. She was like, "You just don't trust Rita." When you
Yeah.
initially read it, you're
Oh,
like, "There's
yeah.
something weird going on here." But you understand now all the stuff that happened with her Malfoy talking into the hand with the beetle, like how she knew about Victor Crumb was because Victor pulled a beetle out. I even mentioned that during the one part where they were at the ball, the Yule Ball, and Harry like looked over and he like looked at a beetle rather than him. And I remember looking at you directly because I was like, and Harry, you know, like he's over here, he's listening to this conversation, and all of a sudden he looks at a beetle, and I'm like, boop. And I looked back. I was like going crazy. So you guys like
so
understand
great.
how all that happened. Even how she found out Harry was hallucinating, or not hallucinating, having these visions, was because the window, and he heard the slight buzzing of a fly or something like that. that kinda lulled him
I
to
didn't
sleep.
notice that. Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
I think it was like the
figured, but I
wind
didn't
was
know it
on his back, on
actually
the back of his
said.
neck, and he heard, I think, like a buzzing of a fly or
That is so great.
wings or something.
And then the whole thing with a body being dragged out of the
I know.
Out of the woods.
what the heck is it called?
Like during the World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How she was right about that though, because
Yeah.
it was just interesting because we were like, do you think there's another body?
Yep. And you guys were like, yes, she's definitely dragging bodies out.
I did say yes, but
Yeah.
then I didn't put it.
Yeah, it didn't come back up
Sometimes
again
you
until
just-
now.
Yeah. Don't second guess yourself. Just go for it.
I would never have guessed.
Is she going to
Crouch
report her to the
Jr..
ministry? Yeah, right. Of all the people, we didn't know he existed back then.
He's dead.
Well, she has leverage over her now to do it. So she said something like
Yeah.
she's got a year to like, she's going to keep watch over her for like a year or something like that. Not in a jar, hopefully. We'll see. So maybe she'll pop up back in the story.
I feel
Also,
like that's foreshadowing her career path,
I know.
like a lawyer, keeping law or something, police officer.
Or she's going to be an Auror. This is her own version of Moody's trunk.
Yeah,
It's her glass
seriously,
jar.
that's her
It's
next
the first
thing.
version, you know?
She's gonna transfigure them all into beetles or like insects and like put them all in this little jar that doesn't break.
She's got an office just full of jars
Imagine
of people
that.
she's captured.
Because I do love the descriptions of all the office of the people. Like Lockhart had all the portraits on his. Moody has all the dark detectors, and then
Wow, yeah.
what's his name?
How did he have? Oh, he took
Lupin
all
had
the
the
stuff.
creatures and everything like that.
Yeah.
So she would have a bunch of beetles around, like little bug projects
Like
of all her
labels, so
victims.
she remembers who's who.
That'd be great. Who do you think? And this is another different question. Who do you think the next Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher is going to be?
Wait, can you hold?
Yes, hold
I
on
was
to that.
just thinking. Remember Mad Eye Moody's office? He had all the trinkets of all the things, and they were going crazy. And
Yep.
he was blaming it on the students,
Yep.
but it was because
It
he was right
him
next to
the whole
them.
time.
Because that whole thing came up for Fred and George too. Because the sneakoscope was going crazy because
Mad Eye Moody.
Wormtail was there.
Well, yeah.
And the
right.
same thing happened here where his trinkets were going crazy and he blamed them on the students. And then you guys got the part too with like you nailed that when you were like the goblins, they deal with money. I'm sure he's in some kind of gambling debt. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
I wasn't even thinking about it except that you said it. You're like, it's not this person. You know, he blamed it on Crouch, but I bet it was Bagman the whole time. Like it was dodgy. And then I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But that's when it all clicked. And then it was funny because I re-listened to that. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I said it.
Confirmed all
So
that.
I nailed that. But that was
You
funny.
guys did so good with your predictions this podcast,
Yeah,
this
we were
book.
good
I
Yeah, that was
loved
good
it.
teamwork.
First time readers.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And then the blackmail, the Fred and George
Yes.
thing, that whole
I know.
dynamic.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about that from the beginning. And that's why I love her writing too, because when you think she's forgotten something or left it, it's an open end that's just going to come back
Yep.
later. So I'm like, man, did they get their money yet?
Yeah, I know.
So I'm glad they did with Harry's help.
Jen, you wanted me to remind you about something about Dumbledore.
Oh yeah, but that was it.
That was it?
My theory
So
of being
good.
looking old and
Yeah. I love that.
the whole thing. I forgot it was in the other chapter.
If they go back to Hogwarts, who is year 5 Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher?
Could it be the real Mad Eye Moody? Please stand up.
Right?
That would make a lot of sense.
Real Mad Eye
Oh,
Moody.
she loved that one.
Dum-dum. So Moody could be a possible option. Who else?
That last time too. I don't remember.
Well, I might
Yeah,
be
we
in the
did.
bathroom.
I think I
Oh,
said
yeah,
the
we-
real Mad Eye. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, let's announce to the
we're gonna
world.
keep that
Jen
one
was gone.
He would be great. Would it be someone we already know or somebody new?
Yeah, they keep picking someone new, so I feel like it's probably someone new.
But they can't be
But
trusted.
I feel like
every single
Mad Eye
time.
Moody needs like a few years to like
Oh gosh, yeah.
regroup
I
and
know.
recover.
Poor guy.
Could any of the Weasleys, Amos Diggory, could Hermione teach it to the younger students? And
Do you think Harry would be a good defense against the Dark Arts teacher?
in a lot of ways, yeah.
Actually,
He doesn't
yeah.
know enough yet. He's
Yeah.
not studious enough. But
Yeah.
he would be a good teacher.
Yeah, he's got the experience down, right?
Yeah.
It's probably someone new. I feel like.
You think that has been a trend, right? Like
Yeah.
we haven't met them before and then the book starts. I like that it's like such a thing.
I know.
But that's where I don't know with writing like the right way to do it. I don't know how she approached it. Do you break the trend or you keep it going?
I know.
Because I do like that.
See. Well, I'll ask you more questions over the next
What if
book.
it's Dumbledore?
Ooh,
He has
honestly.
not taught yet.
Because all of a sudden he's like, shoot, Voldemort's back. I need everyone to know what's going on.
But then
Right.
he'd have the curse. Would he like die after that, or would he just like not teach that anymore?
What do you mean?
Because there's a 1-year curse on the Defense Against the Dark
Oh
Arts teacher.
my
So whoever's there is probably only going to be there for a year.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he's gonna die.
Yeah, it's true.
Have they died? Who died? Maybe. But they'll
here's
at
a-
least go away,
Yeah.
never to be seen again. Kind
Well,
of.
I mean, Dumbledore's getting old. Apparently, they keep saying that.
Here's
Right.
just one more question I want to ask for the next book, and then we'll pause the next book discussions about predictions, and then we'll jump back into one more question after this one. The next book is called Harry Potter and what?
I don't know.
Yeah,
You know?
actually, wait. Let me think. Like, what did we just read? I don't remember. I must have seen it when
Okay.
I bought the book.
I'm going to save that for the next book then. I was going to ask, what do you think this is? What I should have started asking, and I realized this because someone on subreddit said this. They were like, you should ask them what these things are. I should have asked you before we read the Goblet of Fire. Okay, what is the Goblet of Fire?
Oh,
I should
that's
have asked you,
funny.
what is the Chamber of Secrets and who's the prisoner of
Didn't you
Azkaban?
No, you didn't.
I don't think I did.
Yeah,
might
no,
have,
I
maybe.
don't think
I thought
you
you
did.
did about this one because I remember I said, "Oh, I know what happens" because I heard the summary of the next book.
Are you gonna read the back cover of the next book?
I love listening, and then I get good guesses. So
I guess so, because that ruins the question
Yeah,
if you
I
know
know.
like the.
it doesn't ruin anything. I just get really
enhances.
good feedback. Or,
Jen's gonna know exactly what the next book is.
Right, right.
hey, we're on a trend here. Polyjuice potion.
Tell me
Now
what
I want to look it up.
what questions you have of this book. Did it wrap up things nicely? What other points do you want to make? Anything else that you have for this book before we get into like who won the book, the house cup of the book, and what's your favorite moment of the book?
Of the book.
I have 2 romance questions. Hagrid and Eminem going on vacation together to the motherland.
To the motherland.
Romance question mark. That is pretty funny. That whole dynamic, and
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Also, bye Harry, said Hermione, and she did something she had never done before and kissed him on the cheek. Very sweet of her. Like a sibling? Question mark. Or like a crush. I don't know.
Interesting. Will there be a love triangle between the three?
Well, it opens up Ron and Floor. She wants to practice her English anyway, which Ron thinks is very good. So I was like, well, I mean,
Oh my God.
I don't hate it. Now that Cho is not an option, let's face it, I don't think that would work anymore with
Really?
with Harry. I don't. No, it feels too weird. I don't know if I could get behind that anymore.
Why?
I think with Cedric dying, there would just be too much grief wrapped up in the whole thing. I don't think it could work.
She'd be crying on all their dates.
Yeah, like it would just be, honestly, I just couldn't think of it as healthy. I would be like, Cho is just trying to hold on to memories of Cedric
Yeah.
through Harry, or there'd be deeper resentment. I don't know.
Wow, you think this through.
But honestly, I think him and Cho could have a great friendship now to the next level. Like they've been through something together. They could support each other, but I don't think they could date. I don't think they could be romantic.
Interesting.
But Hermione and Harry, maybe.
We'll see.
I didn't think I'd be on that train, but now I maybe am a little bit.
I feel like she just kissed his cheek because he almost died.
Yeah,
Like-
maybe. But they've
What is it?
almost died a bunch of times.
And what does that do to a 10th grade boy?
Yeah, it just
I
feels
I don't
like
know.
it just feels like there's something more there.
Jen, I'm talking about emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, classic Jen.
Blame it on me.
That's definitely going to play with his heart a little bit. It doesn't matter if they're even just friends. A little kiss on the cheek is going to emotionally get a guy's wheels turning.
Yep.
That's what she said.
I was just thinking that.
There's these card games. That's what she said.
Oh, yeah?
It's like, what was it?
Like apples to apples with
Yeah.
innuendos.
But that's what she said. So definitely not very clean.
We got to play it Harry Potter style. We should have Harry Potter bingo. We really should make Harry Potter bingo for our podcast.
Oh man, there are so many Harry Potter things I now
That's a good
want to
idea.
get into,
Yeah.
and I just have to
Even
wait.
have them.
I know.
There's like some new Harry Potter video game and everything.
Oh
and
my
I was
gosh.
like, that looks so awesome. I can't even watch the commercials because I don't want to know anything about
I
it.
literally made
but
a
I'm
mention
like,
of this
oh, it
on the
looks so
podcast, which is
good.
coming out tomorrow on Monday, about how I'm going to live stream some of that. It comes out in February, and you guys can't do it yet, but I'm going to see if I can live stream and
that is so awesome.
like do the game. Like me and you will hang out and we'll live stream the Harry Potter game.
Well,
And
just
you
because
guys
there's
can
so
join
much more
after.
to the world now that I'm like, oh, I want to peek in on all this stuff.
We're not even halfway through the book.
Because the next ones are so big. The first book is
Jen,
tiny,
but
looking back on it,
tell
the thing is
me-
like this big.
I just want your confirmation of this prediction that I made at the very beginning.
That I'm happy it's such a big.
Yes. Aren't you happier that these books are longer?
Yes,
Don't you almost wish they were longer than what they are?
absolutely.
Thank you.
When I was finishing this, I'm like,
wouldn't have a stop.
oh no, we're almost 45% of the way through, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm like taking guesses. I'm like, no, maybe we're only 40%. Maybe we have lots left to go.
Yeah.
I like want them to be longer.
We're about 43. There's I think we get to like
yes.
chapter 6 or 7 of the next book, and that's when we're halfway through.
And then I was like, oh man, because we like put a few Christmas things up in here. I was like, yeah, I was joking with Kristen. We could decorate it next Christmas too. And then I was like, will we be reading in another year? That would be so awesome.
we might, but it's worth it.
Depends how much we stretch it out, but it's so great.
Speaking of, can our viewers point out all the Christmas stuff in our?
I know that's like a little challenge.
Yeah,
Find
I
all the little
spy.
Christmas
Go,
things.
go watch the live stream, and go find all the little Christmassy things we got. All right, I want to know who wins the House Cup. Let's just talk about for these chapters.
Dumbledore.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
strong.
There's a lot of strong contenders, though. I really love
Yeah.
Mrs. Weasley in certain moments, like we talked about.
Yes, yeah.
She's great. Harry is also really great, and like his courage and bravery to actually be able to retell the story. Sometimes
Yep.
I want to give it to Amos Diggory, but that's devistating.
Yep.
Posthumously, what is that word? To Cedric. Posthumously, yeah.
Maybe.
There you go.
Oh yeah, so true.
I feel like Dumbledore does win this chapter. He just isn't on a different level from everyone else, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is your favorite moment in these chapters? In these three?
Information.
Yeah, it's all about the information. I love it.
Do you have my favorite moment for me again?
Yes.
The what? This hug?
No, I don't know.
You like you,
You
love
picked
the
out a
hug.
moment last time and you were like,
you do it.
oh,
and
this
you're
was-
like,
Well, I just
yeah,
gave it to
yeah,
you.
yeah.
The hug. Your favorite moment is the hug.
Oh.
When Mrs. Weasley hugs Harry.
Yep.
Come on, I can't keep doing this. You just gotta tell me what your favorite. When you're reading these chapters, just
Ooh,
write down.
nice.
That was a great
Ahead of
moment.
time,
you know?
lock it in.
Yeah, come
I was
on.
doing that and I don't know what happened.
I feel like
That is written down.
Christmas happened, and you're knitting our sweaters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
for sure, for
true.
sure.
Thank you.
Which are
crushed
incredible.
these
I am so
sweaters. I
cozy
can't
right now.
believe it.
I
I
know.
love
Are you?
this.
I'm sweating.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I
right
had
next
to
to the
shed
window,
my
so
layer, but I'm gonna
cozy.
keep staring at it.
This is so great. I love these.
So
Yeah, it's the
awesome.
J's. Gives a little extra coziness. Sorry.
I feel like I'm gonna have to wear this like all the time now.
I know.
And then especially when we're reading Christmas in the books.
Yeah.
But the world does feel like it's changing. But I hope they still celebrate Christmas in the next books. My favorite moments, I think, too.
World War.
Yeah, right. It's about to be World War III in the wizard world.
That's what it sounds like.
When Dumbledore first broke the door open and came charging in, that was like a great moment. And I love the information dump. But I think when he was in the Great Hall, like telling all the students, talking about Cedric, he says that great line of we're only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. Like that moment felt like a big moment. I really liked that. It was like, tearing up about Cedric and just like reading through all that. Those 2 pages, high quality, my favorite.
Yeah. Just the whole dialogue that he has with Fudge is some of my favorite writing.
Oh
first to
yeah,
this
that
point,
too. Oh man.
Oh yeah, what you read earlier was really good.
I love how he talks about that, and I really love just the memorial that they have for Cedric too. Remember someone who is good
Oh,
and
yeah.
brave, and what happened when they just kind of happened to go across Voldemort's path.
Yeah.
Remember Cedric Diggory. I love that. Who wins the House Cup for this entire book? I mean, does Harry win them all?
No, I gotta give it to Cedric. I gotta take this
Yeah.
off. I'm like,
Okay, we got to vote for Cedric.
All these books are about Harry Potter, though. Like,
Yeah, well, you're right. I feel like I'm giving him a little handicap just so that he doesn't get it every time. But
Hermione could get it every time.
I
too.
did think about that. She did a lot of awesome stuff,
Yeah,
and she always is she's so level headed.
yeah, I enjoy
Fantastic.
her character.
Man, like because even the drama between Harry and Ron, she's in there like trying to mediate things and help out. She's encouraging Harry to get the clues. She's a sounding board for Harry. Like that's why I think Hermione and Ron, even when they're the unsung heroes, they are giving Harry stability that allow him to do anything basically. Because without them, he would not be able to handle this. I don't know if I could really give it to Hermione, but I can definitely think about it.
she's up there.
She's up there.
She's up there in the power rankings, but not quite. Maybe not quite getting it. Yeah, I feel like Harry kind of deserves it. Dumbledore is great in this book. Really love Dumbledore.
Sirius is a good character too, even though he's not really in it. His letters and advice.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
He's the unsung hero of this book, really.
And I feel like with Dumbledore, we might find out more that he was doing that we didn't see in this book, and realize how much more he actually had like a hand in making this stuff happen. Because again, he always seems a little bit distant, but now he's getting more involved. I feel like I'll have to lock it in and say Harry.
Yeah.
Because that fight with Voldemort, like he had some emotional support from these shadows, but like he was just going for it.
Yeah.
Fighting the Dark Lord all by his onesie.
Toodle says Harry has to win the House Cup for being a 14-year-old boy who willingly faced death by fighting the darkest wizard in his world.
Yeah. I mean,
True.
yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Harry wins the House Cup for the Goblet of Fire. On to the next book, which I am not going to say what it's
looked it
named.
up.
Oh, dang it.
When I hear, oh wait. No, don't tell me. I was like, when I hear it, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, but it's good because I still don't know what it means.
Yeah, you're not going to know what it means.
Can we
Excellent.
say it?
It's up to John. Yeah.
It's called Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
The Order of the Phoenix.
Maybe that plays into what you were saying. The newest, like,
There's
tail
a
feather.
third tail feather that's going on.
Ooh. And that's the Order of the Priori Incantatum.
And on that note, thanks for joining us on this podcast of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Thanks for listening. This was such a fun book to do with these guys. I also am going to post an extra episode on Danny and Jen's live reactions to reading the books, because they just sent me a bunch of voice memos and it was hilarious and really, really entertaining. So I'm going to post that a little bit later, but thank you so much for listening, and we are going to do the Order of the Phoenix in a few days. We're going to start reading that. So get ready for that. We're very excited.